everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Hank Stram, and we're in Georgia, sir, in the nest of the Atlanta Falcons, who are hurting, Hank. They've lost 2 in a row. What do you do to get well today?
Atlanta must be able to make 4 yards or more on first down, and they also have to control the line of scrimmage with the obvious. They also have to put inside pressure on Pat Hayden if they're going to rush the quarterback.
Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Rams have evidently put it together. They've won 3 straight.
Yes, and they can make it 4 straight if they can protect the passer like they have in the last 3 games. Plus, they have to exercise patience. They have to run right at the defense of the Atlanta Falcons. They have to be able to throw in front of the defensive backs and between the linebackers and the defensive backs. And if they can do that, they're going to have a good afternoon here in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, Hank. The Atlanta Falcons will be kicking off. The Rams going right to left on your screen, having won the toss. And Mick Luckhurst will kick off for Atlanta, the rookie out of the University of California. The deep man, that's Drew Hill, number 87. Last year, he busted one for 90 yards and a touchdown against Detroit. And Luckhurst kicks it short, and it looks like it'll go OB, which means a flag on the play, and they'll have to kick it over again from the 30. It gives us a chance, since we come on the air somewhat like on horseback, to tell you it's 58 degrees. There's a light wind out of the east, about 12 miles an hour. Humidity is 74%. It's partly cloudy, and there is maybe a 40% chance of rain. It rained here on and off for the last couple of days, and it was a little misty and drizzly yesterday, but before what would appear to be a full house, the prospects of a dandy. The Rams lost 2, then seemed to get over all of their early problems, and they've now won 3 straight, and they are definitely on the move. Atlanta started off like a house of fire, and then they have gotten their knocks against the Cleveland Browns and then Monday night against Philadelphia. So you have a team on the upswing against a club that's been going down, and we'll see how they go with first place at stake. And from the 30-yard line, Mick Luckhurst will kick off yet again. This time he gets his leg into it, and Drew Hill from 1 yard deep. He's to the 10, to the 20, 25, hit and dropped at the 25. Scott Werner was the man who made the hit, and Werner is shaken up on the play. Scott is a rookie out of Georgia. So a 30-yard return as Scott Werner limps off the field. He backs up Bob Glazebrook at safety. Let's take a look now at Atlanta and the Rams. First of all, you have Hayden with Tyler, Bryant, Waddy, and Denard, the wide receivers. Henry Childs, the tight end, with Hanky Smith, Saul, Hara, and Slater up front. So first and 10 on the Ram 28-yard line. And Hayden will start with the big back, Cullen Bryant, who's grabbed from behind by Laughlin and up front by Kenny Johnson, and they drop him at the 31-yard line. Bryant, of course, is the big guy. The defense for Atlanta, and it is so important, first with their 3-man front. Jeff Yates, Don Smith, and Wilson Fomina is playing for the injured Jeff Merrow. Then the linebackers, Richardson, Kuykendall, Curry, and Laughlin is playing for Joel Williams. Butler, Johnson, Pridemore, and Glazebrook at the safeties. So it'll be 2nd and 7 from the Ram 31-yard line, and they split the tight end Henry Childs, and they go slot right. Both backs flaring, and it's a screen to Wendell Tyler, and Tyler's hit and dropped by Buddy Curry. Curry hit him at about the 34-yard line, and he has to get down beyond the 38 in order to get a first down. So Buddy Curry, 2 years out of North Carolina, and they say he reminds people down here of Tommy Nobis, and that is indeed high praise.
You know, Dennis Hara that time, the right guard, really did a good job of pulling and making a block out in front, but in spite of that, Curry came from the inside out and made the tackle. A beautiful play by Buddy Curry, number 50.
So Hayden takes him up to the 34-yard line, where he has it 3rd and a long 3. Waddy is right, and Denard goes left. Tyler and Bryant, the running backs, and both backs release. And some heat, and throws no good. It appeared as if he had pretty good time, and Hank, that would be a compliment then to what some people consider a soft area for Atlanta, their pass defense, especially the safeties.
Yes, and they are 12th in total defense, and I think the common feeling is that if you have time to throw the ball, you ought to be able to lick their 2 safeties, Glazebrook and Pridemore, both of whom are very good football players, especially against the run, but leave something to be desired against the pass.
Frank Corral, the 4-year veteran out of UCLA, will be kicking to Scott Werner. Remember, Werner made the tag on the punt, and now he goes deep to handle it. Werner coming up at the 25, now at the 29, and he's at the 35, and then they bury him as he crossed the 35, about the 37-yard line. And underneath was Carson, number 54, along with Lucius Smith of the Rams. So the first plays for the Rams didn't go anyway, and now Atlanta will get a chance to handle the football. So the Atlanta Falcons stiffened and stopped the Rams on Los Angeles' first purchase. Now let's see about the boys from Georgia. Bartkowski, Kane, Andrews, Francis, and Jenkins. And then you have Junior Miller, the tight end, Ken Scott, Van Note, Thielman, and Sanders up front. Sanders playing for Warren Bryant. It's 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 37. Francis in motion. He's picked up by Leroy Irvin. And as they try to go on the ground, they get out to about the 40-yard line. And, of course, if there is a weakness to the Rams, it is the inability to stop the rush, so the number 1 rusher, William Andrews, will test them the first time. Here's that Ram defense that is so important. Youngblood, Fanning, Brooks, and Jones up front. The linebackers, Jim Youngblood, along with Carl Eckern and Andrews. Then you have Leroy Irvin playing for Pat Thomas with Perry, Cromwell, and Johnson. 2nd and 7 for Bartkowski from the 40-yard line, and still staying on the ground. He's lucky to get back to the line of scrimmage, and that time Lynn Kane was trying.
I think probably the plan for Atlanta is to run to their left, which is obvious so far. I think they feel they can run at Cody Jones better than they can Youngblood. They feel, I think, that, and people around the league feel that Cody Jones is a much better inside player than he is a defensive end. And for that reason, I think they're going to give him some business here this afternoon. Try to, at least.
And now, of course, Bartkowski throwing into a very tough pass defense. It's 3rd and 7 on the Atlanta 40-yard line. Jackson is wide left and Jenkins wide right. Bartkowski looking for Jenkins. And he has overthrown him, and it goes through the fingertips anyway.
The Rams really did a super job that time of disguising a blitz. They tried to create the impression that they were going to blitz that time, but at the last second, they backed off and only had a 4-man rush, and it confused Bartkowski, and he threw the ball long and incomplete.
That's Mike Ken. We have a note to tell you about him, but we don't have enough time to use it now. But he has a string going of consecutive games in which he has played without a penalty. Goes all the way back to the 12th game of the 1979 season. So John James will hang one, and it is Leroy Irvin at the Ram 25. And Irvin gets a couple of tremendous blocks. And he's down into Atlanta territory and might go all the way. He does. Leroy Irvin takes that punt, got a huge block on the right sideline, and away he went. And for Leroy Irvin, 2 years out of Kansas, what a sweet moment. 75-yard touchdown.
And watch the return here, and watch the beautiful block here. Number 22 gets a good block. Gooman. Gooman is more in the way than he actually threw a block. But look at him go down the sideline. Irvin, we're talking about, almost went out of bounds, but stayed inside all the way down the sideline and goes all the way in for the touchdown. And you know, the funny thing about it was, I talked to Don Klosterman last night. We talked about the specialty teams, and he said, I think against this team, we can make a big play on a punt return or a kickoff return. He was very prophetic on the play, wasn't it?
Didn't take long at all as Corral hammers it through. And the fellow who was riding Bob Glazebrook out of the play is a rookie, the first-round draft choice of the Rams, Mel Owens. So all in all, as Gooman knocked down a couple and Owens rode Glazebrook out, Leroy Irvin goes 75 yards to stun the Falcons. It is 7-0 Rams. 7-0 Rams on a 75-yard punt return by Leroy Irvin. Frank Corral will tee it up. And the deep men for Atlanta, there is Reggie Smith, the little guy, number 16, standing in the end zone, and his numbers. To his right, up on the 10-yard line, is Ray Strong, and to his left at the 10 is Blaine Geisen. So Frank Corral with the Rams leading 7-0 in the early going. And he will kick down the right side, so Reggie will take it at about the 2. And the little man is buried shy of the 20-yard line. New Orleans leading Philadelphia 7-0. George Rogers scoring from 5 yards out. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended to the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of the telecast without the express written consent of the Atlanta Falcons and the National Football League is prohibited. So Atlanta stunned by that 75-yard punt return, and here they are down 1st and 10. The ball is almost on the Atlanta 20-yard line. And Bartkowski now trying to shake up his ball club that has already lost 2 in a row and is badly beaten and bruised from Monday night. They'll try Lynn Kane. It looks like bargain day as everybody had a shot at it.
And it's a long way to run against the Rams to take the ball from the left halfback position, then and take it all the way over to the right side of the football. By the time he got there, the Ram defense was there to meet him as a reception committee, and he didn't make any yardage on the play.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 on the 20. The Falcons had the ball once, started on their 37, and 3 yards later had to give it up, and that was the punt that Leroy Irvin busted for the 75-yard touchdown. 2nd and 10 from the 20. And they shake Junior Miller loose. The tight end is wide on the right side. But they're going to stay on the ground. And Lynn Kane falls for maybe 2 yards. Jack Youngblood hits him. And the crowd is annoyed because it is such a conservative offense, down by 7 already.
Yes, and that's the one thing I think you have to be careful. Once you get stunned by a return like they just did, if you're not careful, you try to get it all back at one time and make another bad mistake, and you wind up being 14 points behind. They want to make sure they get a hat on everybody and stay after people, do the very best they can, and get back into the football game in a very patient way.
The ball on the Atlanta 23-yard line. Bartkowski with Andrews and Kane, and he stayed on the ground. Now he's going to put it up. And he's got a lead for his man, but he let him too long, as Alfred Jackson, being guarded by Rod Perry, never had a shot at it.
And we talked about this going into the game. Atlanta must do a good job on 1st and 10 of getting at least 4 or more. They haven't in the first 2 possessions, and for that reason, they haven't done a good job of moving the football.
The first down they had, they gained 3 the first sequence, and the second time they didn't gain anything. The deep man is Leroy Irvin again. John James, the punter, will be punting from the Atlanta 15-yard line, and he really tries to hang it to let some of his wideouts get down there and have a shot at Leroy Irvin, and they do. Among others down there was Gayson. Guyson was also helped out by Scott Werner and White. So the trio brought him down, and it was the hang time that saved any kind of a return on that one. Ron Jaworski has just passed 11 yards to his tight end Keith Trefley for a touchdown to balance the books as far as Philadelphia and New Orleans concerned, tied at 7.
You know, one thing that the Rams must be careful of, when you score as easy as they just did, sometimes you have a tendency to kind of relax a little bit and you get yourself in trouble. They really have to stay on the attack.
Well, they're coming out of the eye on the attack, and Henry Childs is in motion. The second man is Wendell Tyler, following Cullen Bryant's block, and Tyler got to about the 40-yard line as the Falcons swarmed all over him. By the way, Hank, you read about a swarming defense for Atlanta, swarming linebackers. What kind of a problem does that present for an offensive coach?
Then you have to make sure that your squad is aware that they have to cover the ball up very, very well against Atlanta. By that I mean they have to really hold it tight after they make a catch or after they carry the ball, because they're always trying to scrape it loose. And if you're not careful and careless carry the football, you're going to drop it.
2nd and 7 on the Ram 40-yard line. In motion again is Childs. He's picked up by Glazebrook. This time it's Cullen Bryant with a block by Hara, and he got out across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. And again, that typical participle, swarming, sums up the Atlanta defense. Kansas City leading Oakland. Nick Lowry just kicked a 52-yard field goal to put Kansas City out in front. 52, that's a long-distance phone call, Hank.
Boy, that ball's got to have helium in it if he kicked it that far.
It'll appear in the Pasadena Rose Bowl parade. 3rd and 4. The ball on the Ram 43-yard line. 7-0 Rams in the first quarter. Waddy is wide right. Denard goes left. And Hayden with Tyler not blocking. Wendell Tyler was going to stay in at fullback, but they burst through as Al Richardson, who played here at Georgia Tech. So he's one of the returnees here. And watch it. You'll see 26 staying in, but he never had a chance.
Watch 56 coming into your picture on the left side, and it gets Pat Hayden a blind shot. And that's really the nice thing about being in a spread formation on obvious passing situations. You never get the blind side hit.
It was a poor, it wasn't even right to call it a block. It was a very bad play by Wendell Tyler. So Hayden goes down, and it's 4th and 12 on the Ram 35. And Corral arrows one deep. Scott Werner will take it at the 13, and down he goes, and the wideout has got him, Lucius Smith, who was flying down there, and the little man tripped him up, and once again, the Falcons are in poor field position, and the Rams still lead 7-0.
Vin Scully gave you the score, 7-7. Here's how the Eagles came right back. First possession, Jaworski to Krepley. And right now, the Atlanta Falcons have the ball against the Rams. And let's go back to Vin and Hank Stram.
Okay, Brent, and apparently Philadelphia is shaking itself after a Monday night ball game. Of course, they really drained Atlanta. In fact, in looking at the Falcons, Lehman Bennett said it was such a tough game Monday night that several of his players cried after the game.
Yeah, there's no question. It was a very emotional game, and they felt it was a game they had to win. They didn't succeed, and they felt very badly about it.
1st and 10 on the Atlanta 11-yard line. Junior Miller is in motion. And Bartkowski throwing on first down to Miller, who dropped it. Right there with him was Johnny Johnson, but Miller had a perfect ball to handle.
I asked Lehman Bennett yesterday at his practice, I said, you haven't thrown the ball to Junior Miller very much. He's only made 9 catches. And he said, well, we've thrown him some balls, but he's dropped quite a few this year. And there's a great illustration of what he just said. He just dropped the football.
And you can see the Rams trying to get to Bartkowski at the last minute. Jack Youngblood pushed him back. That's about all. So it is 2nd and 10 on the 11-yard line. So Bartkowski unable to move the ball on the ground, pass in the shadow of his own goal line. And we'll see what he does. 2nd and 10 on the 11. And again, he goes to his back, William Andrews, who doesn't drop it. And Dave Williams is knocked out of bounds after crossing the 30-yard line. Leroy Irvin finally pushed him out. And there is the Atlanta Falcons' first down.
Well, they were in man-for-man coverage that time, and they sent Francis in motion. There was nobody outside to make the containment. Number 55, Irvin, was trying to make the play, but he didn't get there in time, and he wound up chasing cleats. And Andrews makes a big first down.
Well, William Andrews, that's his 15th reception. So he's a bread-and-butter man for Atlanta. And Bartkowski decides to stay upstairs, overthrows Junior Miller right into the hands of Rod Perry, and he goes down at about the 46-yard line, but there are flags on the play. So let's see. Leroy Irvin, an easy play with that pass way over.
Offense, number 67. Offense, 67, holding.
That's the rookie, Eric Sanders, who is playing for veteran Warren Bryant.
And Eric Sanders, number 67, the offensive right tackle, is really going to have his hands full trying to block Youngblood on obvious passing situations. He was holding in that last time, and there's the interception with Rod Perry making the play.
1st and 10 on the Falcon 46. Play action fake to Bryant, who stays in the block. Hayden with time, and he's got Denard at about the 27-yard line. Denard beating Kenny Johnson. And we'll see Preston's number quite often, but the key, Hayden's getting time.
That was a play action fake this time, and they have very good pass protection. No time whatsoever as far as the defense rushing the quarterback. And they throw a beautiful pass, Preston Denard, in front of the defensive back, Kenny Johnson.
So they pick up a good 20 yards on that pass reception, and they have it 1st and 10. The ball close to the 26-yard line of Atlanta. Denard goes wide left, Waddy right. Cullen Bryant is the up back in the eye, and they go to Wendell Tyler. And Tyler is stuck at about the 20-yard line. He has to get down to just inside the 17. Jim Laughlin, who is playing for Joel Williams, making the tackle.
That time they had Henry Childs on the wing back off the line of scrimmage, and they had an angle block on the defensive end. Tyler runs the sweep to the right side, sees some running room inside, and takes advantage of it and makes a nice gain in the play. Makes it 2nd and 6.
So it means they picked up 6. And 2nd and 4 on the 20-yard line. And Cullen Bryant is tripped up and falls for about the 16. And looking back, the second 2 times now the Rams have had the ball. They picked up 20 yards on a first down pass, and they picked up 2nd on the ground on a first down. And, of course, that bears out that point you were making earlier about 4 yards being the bottom line first down.
Yes, and the other thing is I think the Rams have to throw the ball more on 1st and 10, and I think they can throw the ball very, very well against the secondary of the Atlanta Falcons.
So with the ball spotted after the measurement at about the 16-yard line, the Rams pick up the first down. Remember, this started on the interception by Rod Perry on a badly overthrown ball by Bartkowski that missed Junior Miller by a good several yards. First and 10 on the Falcons' 16-yard line. Hayden with Bryan helping to block, but Glazebrook was coming, and the pass intended for Billy Waddy no good. So Bob Glazebrook was putting in some heat from his safety position, but Bryant was able to bump him out of the way.
They were working on Bobby Butler, the rookie quarterback, number 23, with Waddy making an inside-outside move. He had him licked, but the pressure inside made Pat Hayden throw the ball poorly and over the top and falls incomplete.
Maybe it's still premature with 1:28 left in the first quarter, but if the Rams can punch it through.
Do you think the Falcons are almost finished for the day? No, I don't think they're finished for the day. This game's a long way from being over with, but they're going to have to be forced to do something that they didn't want to do, and that is to have to throw the ball consistently to get back in a football game, and that's very tough against the Rams.
Second and 10 on the 16-yard line. Hayden again with time, and can now have the luxury of scrambling, and he's to the 10-yard line. Fumble! And let's see. Still a loose ball. Still loose. And the Rams recovered it. Down at the bottom, Irv Pankey, number 75, was the last man to fall on that wet hog, which was squirming all over the field.
Watch, Hayden is forced to jump out of the pocket. He sees some running room. Waddy tries to make a block on Pridemore. See, the problem is, anytime the ball's laying on the ground, you should just fall on it and be satisfied to have possession. Invariably, the defensive people or offensive people try to pick it up and run with it, and for that reason, they kick it all over the place, and they wind up losing possession like Atlanta did on that last play.
So the big save by Irv Pankey, and it will be a third down play, 3rd and 3. The ball is on the Atlanta 9, and of course, it's the old story. When things go bad, they go right down the tube.
And talking about, falling on the football, I know our players in Kansas City used to laugh about it early when we first did it, but every practice session for a few minutes, we had our linemen fall on the ball just to make sure they knew how to do that. So when it happened in the game, they were capable of falling on it, and we get possession of the football.
So that maybe the defensive linemen for Atlanta had more hands wrapped in tape than the offensive linemen of the Rams.
That's a good observation, too. So they've got so many. They got gloves, and they got tape, and they got a lot of things. And for that reason, they shouldn't even try to pick it up. Just fall on it. Just fall on it. You won't knock the air out of the football. It won't hurt the ball. Just fall on it, and so you can have possession of the football.
So the Rams still have it. They started on the interception by Rod Perry, and if you joined us earlier, after their first possession, Atlanta had a punt, and Leroy Irvin fielded the punt and ran 75 yards for a Ram touchdown. Then Atlanta had the ball again, tried to get a move on, and a Bartkowski pass was intercepted by Rod Perry. The Rams getting down to a 2nd and 10 on the 16, and Hayden fumbled, and the loose football was finally recovered by Irv Pankey. So the Rams actually picked up a few yards on the fumble, about 7 yards, and it'll be 3rd and 3 from the 9. On that Jets-New England game you just saw a moment ago, Richard Todd passing to Jerome Barkham for 17 yards to account for the Jets' 7-0 lead over New England. And the Pats are almost hapless, Hank.
Yeah, they've really had so much trouble, and they're a fine football team. I don't know why they had so much trouble getting on track so far this season.
3rd and 3 from the 9 for Pat Hayden. Second man is Wendell Tyler, and he might have fallen forward for a yard or two, and that's about all. Cullen Bryant, the big back, was blocking for him, and Buddy Curry was one of the first linebackers to get a glove on him. So the Rams, on a 4th down, will have Frank Corral come in to kick a field goal. And for Corral, he is 6 out of 8 in field goals this year, his longest 41. And this should be just a chip shot for him.
He's an unusual size and build for a kicker. I was watching him yesterday at practice. He looks more like a linebacker or a big fullback than he does just a kicker, and he's an outstanding kicker.
Nolan Cromwell is the holder at the 15, so it's a 25-yard field goal attempt. Corral is 6'2", 225, and linebacker looking or no, he kicks it through. So he's 7 for 9 in field goals. He is 16 out of 16 in points. He can kick them. And it is 10-0 Rams. Frank Corral teeing it up, and the preceding message was furnished by the National Football League. The deep man for Atlanta is little Reggie Smith, and he's flanked by Ray Strong and Blaine Geisen. But, of course, the Falcons want little Reggie to get his hand on the ball. So Corral and the Rams leading 10-0. And they kick it this time to the right side, and Reggie on the dead run is to the 20. 25, still squirming. And the little man gets out to about the 35-yard line. A fine return by little Reggie Smith. Reggie is 5'4", so he can get lost in the crowd out there, Hank.
Yes, you know, the worst thing about a player of that size, every time he gets hit, because he's so short, the big linemen hit him around the head with tackles, and it makes it tough on the little return men. We had Nolan Smith back with us in Kansas City, who was a little taller, about 5'6", and he was super at bringing back punts and kickoff returns, and was a great flanker, too.
Atlanta in fairly good field position now on its own 35-yard line, 1st and 10. Andrews and Kane, and Andrews is the up back. Play action fake to Kane, and Bartkowski setting up a screen for Andrews, but Reggie Doss knocked the ball loose, and it's picked up by Mike Fanning. Mike Fanning, number 79, after Reggie Doss had knocked the ball out of Andrews' hand, and this crowd is shocked. Everything has turned to mud for the Atlanta Falcons.
Boy, it's incredible. When these things happen to you, they happen, and they happen in bunches. A play-action screen, good acting. Fanning comes across, rushes the quarterback. Watch Doss, number 71, come in, scrapes the ball loose, and there you see number 55 coming in.
Mike Fanning.
And Mike Fanning finally falls in a football, and the Rams have possession with beautiful field position.
Look at William Andrews holding that ball out. No wonder he lost it, Hank.
Didn't keep it close to his side.
1st and 10 on the Falcon 23-yard line. And the Rams have a chance to blow this thing wide open in the 1st quarter. Cullen Bryant got away from Laughlin, still on the dead run, and will go out of bounds. Chasing him was Bob Glazebrook.
The Rams are using a counter play, meaning that Bryant takes a step to the right and then goes back to the opposite side. It's a little slow hitting.
Booker Russell has just scored from 1 yard out for Philadelphia, so they're leading 14-7 as they pick up yet another running back, Hank, having lost, among others, Perry Harrington with a broken leg and Leroy Harris with a broken arm.
And the amazing thing is they continue to win.
That's right. 2nd and 7 on the Atlanta 20-yard line. 10-0 Rams. 3:27 left in the 1st quarter. Hayden looking left, now setting up to go deep down the middle, and it's Henry Childs, no good. Tell me about the man from New Orleans, this tight end. He's a good one, isn't he, Hank?
Yeah, he's not only a good receiver, but he's an excellent blocker, good on one-on-one situations, very tough to cover. He had his man licked that time, but the ball was thrown over the top and falls incomplete.
So Henry Childs coming back to the huddle on a 3rd and 7 from the 20-yard line. The Rams had a 75-yard punt return. The Rams had an interception. They cashed that in for a field goal, and now they have picked up an Atlanta fumble after the Rams came up with a big recovery of their own fumble.
You're talking about Childs. He caught 10 touchdown passes for us at New Orleans one year.
3rd and 7 on the 20-yard line, and Hayden is thinking TD again. Got some rush from Richardson, but he throws on the run, no good, in and out of the hands of Willie Miller. So Miller with Bobby Butler, one of the feistier little players around. Butler, a rookie out of Florida State, and he was right there with Willie Miller.
And Wendell Tyler did not block again that time on the right side. The linebacker blitzing came on the inside of Tyler. Hayden jumped to the outside. The ball should have been caught. No question about it. It was right on the money and just dropped by Willie Miller, number 82.
Tyler so far has done nothing more than maybe Pat Richardson on the back going by. He's really beaten him twice now. 4th and 7 from the 20, so Nolan Cromwell will have a hold almost at the 28-yard line. And Corral's 38-yard field goal is good. So the Rams just cashing in all the breaks, and the big thing is get a break, don't walk away empty-handed. And they've gotten the breaks, and they've cashed them in for 2 field goals, plus the punt return touchdown.
Yeah, field position without taking advantage of it and generating some offense and getting points is really worthless, and they've been able to take advantage of it by getting 3 points the last 2 times.
So Frank Corral has kicked 2 field goals, a 75-yard punt return by Leroy Irvin. By the way, friends, stay tuned for the second half of our exciting doubleheader with Dallas at San Francisco. And, of course, San Francisco with an identical 3-2 record. They're battling to stay in first place in the NFC West. They'll be hosting Dallas. You also have St. Louis at New York, Minnesota at San Diego, and Detroit at Denver.
Detroit has lost their fine quarterback, Gary Danielson, and they're already suffering because of that loss.
Frank Corral teeing it up, and once again, little Reggie Smith goes back to field it. Frank Corral was a third-round draft choice for the Rams back in 1978. He does the kicking and the punting, so he is indeed one of the more valuable members of the team. And Corral gets another good kick deep to Reggie Smith in the end zone. Little guy says, that's too far. I'll stay right here with it. That'll give us a chance maybe to check some more scores as Atlanta will take over. Terry Bradshaw has just passed 9 yards to John Stallworth. And Pittsburgh leading Cleveland 7-0. So Atlanta taking over 1st and 10 on its 20-yard line. And looking back, they started on their own 37, on their 20, on their 11, on their own 32, and now on their 20 again.
You know, we're going to have to watch Eric Sanders because we're going to have to throw the ball to get back in this game, and whether he can block Youngblood is going to be one of the big questions.
Jenkins right, Jackson left, and they stay on the ground. Lynn Kane is looking for a place to run, and there's no place to hide, and he's dropped it about the 20-yard line. The middleman, Carl Eckern, along with George Andrews, bringing him down. Atlanta's numbers so far, Bartkowski 2 for 4 for 16 yards, 1 interception. And Hank, he has a bad thumb, along with a flak jacket around his ribs.
Yeah, you have a tendency when you have a problem like he has. He hurt his thumb on the follow-through. Now he's afraid to follow through, and he's throwing the ball, a lot of balls very high. And the last one he threw was intercepted for that reason.
2nd and 10 on the 20-yard line, and they give to William Andrews, and Mike Fanning caught him from behind. Big number 79, who was just married recently, and Fanning, now the family man, decked him with a breeze.
You know, I saw Mike yesterday out of practice, and it reminded me that back in 1963, I had a football camp up at Cutcher's Country Club in New York, and he attended that camp as a young kid.
In 19 when? 63?
63.
That is 18 years ago, so he was 10 years old.
That's right.
Was he as big as he is today?
Almost. He ate as much then as he does now.
Yeah, I'll bet. 3rd and 10 from the 20-yard line. And Bartkowski has to come up with something now. And he has McKeeska, the tight end, in motion to the left, looking at McKeeska, and he's got him, but so does Rod Perry, who just throws a block at him, takes him out of bounds at the 30-yard line, and they pick up the 1st down. So the pass to Russ McKeeska, who plays behind Junior Miller, but might play in front of him if Miller keeps dropping the ball.
That time he had time to throw the ball. He throws the ball well outside to McKeeska, number 87, and Rod Perry, number 49, knocks him out of bounds.
So 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 31-yard line. Bartkowski setting up with Wallace Francis on the right side and Jenkins on the left, and Steve looking in the air deep down the middle for Francis. He makes the reception, and he is knocked down at the 35-yard line of Los Angeles. Wallace Francis.
Boy, he did a good job of hanging that one up there perfectly that time. They had a linebacker blitzing, 1-for-1 coverage, set up nicely, followed through well. Good spiral, throws the ball right over the top to Wally Francis, who makes the catch. And Irvin, number 47, is covering on the play.
So from the Atlanta 31, they connect to the Ram 34. 1st and 10 Atlanta as they try to shake themselves now. And Kane is a wide receiver on the right side, so Andrews all alone is the setback, and they'll go up the middle with William Andrews, and he gets to about the 30-yard line. Can I ask you a bit of strategy? You take Kane, a blocking back, and you put him as a wide receiver. You have Andrews all alone, and you go up the middle with him.
Well, that's a good observation, Ben. That time they had one-on-one. They had Kane being covered by Johnny Johnson, 1-for-1 on the outside. It would be assumable that Kane would be able to lick the guy 1-for-1 because Kane is very able as a pass receiver.
Well, I'm just surprised that Andrews has to run with no extra help from a blocking back.
A good observation.
2nd and 6 on the 30-yard line. In motion is McKeeska to the left, the tight end. Bartkowski going to send it up, and it's to McKeeska, and Johnny Johnson twists him out of bounds, and he needs about a yard for a 1st down. That ball will be spotted at about the 25-yard line.
Atlanta right now is doing a good job of pass blocking, and Bartkowski is changing the rhythm of his passes, throwing some long ones, throwing some short ones, play-action passes, keeping the defense off balance, and doing a good job of moving the football and controlling the line of scrimmage at this stage.
So the first quarter is history. The Falcons are on the move, but it's been all Rams. They lead 13-0. You're looking at number 78, Mike Ken. He has 25 consecutive games in which he has played without a penalty. His last penalty in the 12th game of the 79 season. That's pretty remarkable.
It's unbelievable is what it is.
3rd and 1 on the Ram 25-yard line. Mayberry, and as they switch backs, and they're going to go to Kane. And it is doubtful from this angle. This depends on spotting the ball. He had to cross the 25, and it didn't look like he made it.
He didn't really slam in there tough, did he?
No, not at all. I'm surprised on that kind of a play you wouldn't use a Mayberry. And, of course, I guess William Andrews just a little tired.
But he can't afford to be tired on a 3rd and 1. He's got to make that kind of yardage for you, regardless what the situation is. Fortunately, they made it. Oh, no, they didn't make it. No, they didn't make it. Didn't look like they did.
They kept looking over for the sidelines to decide whether they would go for the field goal or not, and the answer is no. Get the first down. Mosi Tatupo just scored from 2 yards out, so New England has tied the Jets 7-7. Big play for Atlanta now. If they're going to keep their enthusiasm and momentum, they got to cash in this 4th and 1. And they go to William Andrews, and they get more than that. They get a touchdown. No wonder he didn't go 3rd and 1.
Holy mackerel, that was unbelievable. Nobody touched him. It looked like it was a bag drill. The way he ran around the outside with nobody touching him. Ivory Scully was in the game, and number 37, they ran right around the outside of him like he wasn't even there, and he goes in for the touchdown. There we see it. A good block by Lynn Kane, and also the left tackle. Also, Ken does a good job on the play. Boy, they clean it out good shape.
For William Andrews, that was his 2nd touchdown rushing. The point by Nick Luckhurst is good. And so at the start of the 2nd quarter, Atlanta comes alive. They get a touchdown, and the score, Rams 13 and the Falcons 7. 8 plays, 80 yards, with William Andrews bursting for 25 to get Atlanta in the ball game. It is 13-7 Rams. Mick Luckhurst kicking off from the 35-yard line, and Drew Hill standing inside 1 yard and brings it out. Hit and spun down at the 10-yard line, and the man who got him was Bo Robinson, number 33. And that's always a delight to be the wide out and get down there and get rich in a hurry. So as Robinson receives the plaudits of his team, we'd like to remind you to be with us next weekend for another exciting NFL doubleheader on CBS. The early games, New Orleans, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Minnesota, St. Louis, Atlanta, San Francisco versus Green Bay at Milwaukee. And then the later games, Washington, Miami, New York Giants, and Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Oakland.
The tempo of this game has changed dramatically. Look at this bench. And look at the excitement and enthusiasm of the Atlanta Falcons at this stage.
1st and 10 on the Rams 14-yard line for Pat Hayden. He's wearing protective coverings around the rib cage. Yates tried to get him, but he couldn't, and the pass is no good. Bobby Butler, along with Tom Clydemore, they were much closer than any intended Ram receiver. Both Drew Hill and Preston Denard were going out.
Yeah, the communication between and the execution between the quarterback and the receivers were very bad that time. Evidently, Hayden anticipated the receiver to go deep. He did not go deep. The ball went way beyond and was almost intercepted that time by the strong safety, the Lacebrook, number 36.
Philadelphia has Booker Russell score again from 1 yard out, his 2nd touchdown. 21-7 Philadelphia against New Orleans. So it is 2nd and 10 from the 14, and Hayden trying to get out of a trap, and he has just about succeeded. And he brings the ball out to the 20, maybe the 21-yard line. So a good scamper by Pat. He picked up 7, and it will be 3rd and 3.
Hayden goes back into the pocket. Inside pressure there by Yates, number 79, and then on the outside, Merrill comes in. Actually, it was down Smith, and he runs for his life and winds up with 3rd and 3. I think he's going to be able to do more business with the tight end as he goes along in this game. He hasn't looked at him too much, but Henry Childs has been open so far on several occasions, but he hasn't seen him.
Right now, shaken up on the play is Jeff Merrow, who's been out anyway with a bad hamstring. And Merrow had a foot injury in '79. He had a toe injury. Now he's got the hamstring and apparently shaken up and has to come out. And they can ill afford to lose Merrow for the year, and he hasn't been able to play. And look, he's barely walking. So it is 3rd and 3. The ball on the 21 after Hayden ran for 7 yards. Pat with Tyler going out. And the pass intended for Henry Childs, broken up by Tom Pridemore. Pridemore, among other things, the youngest member of the West Virginia House of Delegates. He just passed to the vote.
Yes, he did, and a very good one. He scraped the ball loose. It looked like the ball was going to be right on the money, and at the last minute, Pridemore came in there and knocked the ball down. A beautiful play by the young politician.
Yes, and among other things, you know, he picked off a pass and ran 104 yards for a touchdown against San Francisco. So it is a 4th down play for the Rams, and Frank Corral will be punting from his own 10-yard line. Deep is Scott Warner, number 30. Corral starting to run and pass, and it is knocked down by James Mayberry. James Mayberry, number 39, got his hands up and knocked it down. That desperate passing attempt by Frank Corral. And now there might be a flag on the play, and there is.
The flag looks like it's against the Rams.
Ineligible. Downfield.
When Corral finally picked it up, he was conscious not so much of the football, he was conscious of the presence of Ray Strong, who was coming in hard from the left side. And I think that convinced Corral, I can't kick, I better throw it. But he almost threw it into the hands of James Mayberry, and that would have been a gift touchdown. And now look where Atlanta is. What a wacky game this is.
Oh, it's crazy. It's wild. But, you know, as a kicker, you always have to say to yourself before that happens, in the event this happens, this is what I'm going to do. You can't make that decision at the time. And it looked like he was not prepared to do what he had to do that time.
1st and 10 for Atlanta, and it's Lynn Kane trying to cut back, and he almost broke it. In fact, if Johnny Johnson doesn't hit him, I think he would have gone to the end zone on that play. So Lynn Kane, who played at USC, showing the local boys back there how it goes. You know, Kane has an extra drive. He had 8 yards on 8 carries last year in the first meeting against the Rams. That was his lowest of the year. 2nd and 5 on the 16. Bartkowski on a quick hit straight ahead to William Andrews, and look at him move that whole pile really by himself, and he got the ball down to maybe the 14-yard line. He has to get to about the 11-yard line for a first down. William Andrews.
You know, and Bill Walsh, who was my line coach at Kansas City for 15 years, and coaching this line here, says that the line is an extremely good line. Mike Ken, Scott, Van Note, Thielman, and Sanders is a youngster, but he likes it very much and thinks it's as good as any line in the National Football League, which is quite a compliment.
A trouble Ray Malavasi looking on from the Ram bench. It's 3rd and 3 on the Ram 14-yard line. It's 13-7 Rams, and the Falcons have a golden opportunity now. So they go to William Andrews. He got away from George Andrews, and I think he got the first down. George Andrews had him, the 3-year man out of Nebraska, and William Andrews decided this was no time for any kind of a family meeting.
Andrews did not make the play because he took a bad angle. Then watch it, if we can see it in the picture. He does not take a good angle. He's got to go to the outside more. He went up the field anticipating where he was rather than where he was going to be, and for that reason, he missed the tackle on a critical 3rd down situation.
George Andrews missed him early, and then Nolan Cromwell let him get away. But, of course, William Andrews has been getting away from a lot of people for a couple of years now. William, 3 years out of Auburn, where he was a blocker. And, of course, in the pros, they discovered he can really move it. You know, there are 5 former Georgia Tech players who will be on the field today. Kent Hill, Drew Hill, and Joe Harris of the Rams. And the Falcons pick up the first down. Al Richardson and Tony Dakin. And there is a downcast Jeff Merrow, because the word is he re-injured the hamstring that has plagued him all year. And Merrow, taken to the sidelines, will not play anymore today. 7-year veteran out of West Virginia, and that's a tough blow for Lehman Bennett and company. First and 10 on the Ram 11-yard line. Falcons going slot right.
They have bump and run on the outside there.
Bartkowski deep to Miller. Touchdown to Junior Miller.
Boy, did he make a super catch. He laid it up there perfectly. They had 1-for-1. Bump and run. That's what I mentioned before the ball was snapped. It was 1-for-1. They got the ball to the tight end. Junior Miller, he sucks it up and makes the touchdown. Beautiful play.
Boy, we have really got a dandy now. It's 13-13. And, of course, the Falcons have a chance to take the lead. That's George Andrews back deep in the end zone with the tight end.
Yeah, that's the way the coverage was. They wound up with a linebacker covering the tight end, and Junior Miller is a terrific tight end. Good speed, quickness, and he just licks Andrews on the play.
And Nick Lickhurst thumps it through. Lickhurst is 15 for 16. And suddenly now, the brakes have gone crazy. It was all Rams, now it's all Atlanta, and the Falcons are leading 14-13, 11:41 to the half. That tells you everything but the fact that Frank Corral dropped the snap from center in a punt situation, then tried to pass the ball and it was broken up. And as you can see from 21 yards, Atlanta brought it home. 14-13 Falcons. Drew Hill again having to back about a yard in the end zone. So he's coming out with Mike Gooman in front of him, and he just ran by Gooman, the blocker, and finally goes out of bounds at about the 19-yard line. Is that upsetting to you? Mike Gooman, number 44, is back there to block the Hill, and Hill runs right by him.
Yes, it disturbs you because the blocking back has to anticipate and knows the return left. He has to get off the mark and aggressively block somebody. If he stands back there and waits, the back just has to run right by him, and that's what happened. You waste a blocker.
David Trout just kicked a 19-yard field goal, so it is, as you saw, 10-0 Pittsburgh. First and 10. They're going to spot the ball on the 25-yard line. And here comes Wendell Tyler with Dennis Harris trying to block, but there's one Hara and there's 5 Falcons.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's very, very difficult to do against Atlanta, and that is to go east and west or go sideways. The linebackers, the inside linebackers, are about 5 yards deep, and boy, they're really hard to block. And look at the gang tackling. There's about 4 people in the area of the ball carrier.
The Jets leading New England. Richard Todd to Jerome Barker, and that's the second time that combination worked for the touchdown. And Philadelphia leading New Orleans 24-7. Tony Franklin has just kicked a 22-yard field goal. Meanwhile, Al Richardson, who is all over the lot, one of the great young linebackers for Atlanta, is shaken up. And Richardson will have to come out.
And he's not very big. He's 6'2", 206. But he's got 4'6" speed and really an outstanding linebacker.
Well, he went to school here at Georgia Tech, so they know him well down here. 2nd and 6 on the 29, and Hayden on a play-action fake. Gives it to Preston Bernard, who drops it, kicks it, and then goes down. And it was Wilson Falmina, number 74, who fell on him for good measure. So a little trickery, and it's a busted play.
A little recess football on the reverse that time. And Bernard did a wise thing that time. He did not try to continue to run with it. He fumbled it, kicked it, and finally just gets on the football and maintains possession, and in spite of that, he almost still lost it.
So it is a 3rd down, 3rd and 9 for the Rams on the Ram 26-yard line. Bryant and Wendell Tyler. Drew Hill goes wide right, and the Rams have a slot left, but Denard's in motion. And with all that going on, Hayden's under pressure, and down he goes. It is Glazebrook, Bob Glazebrook, who came out of the secondary to nail him.
And did you see what he tried to do? He wasn't satisfied just to make the sack. He tried to scrape the ball loose as he made the contact. Watch, see if we can see this. Watch his hand come in, and watch it right here. Watch him try to scrape the ball. There it is. Then he tried to slap the ball loose and knock it free, which is great composure and great presence on the part of Glazebrook.
That's Scott Werner, who is standing on the Atlanta 35-yard line, and Frank Corral, who dropped the last snap, and that led to an Atlanta touchdown, is standing on his own 5-yard line. This time he holds it, turns the laces, and then hammers it. And Werner at the 39-yard line, boxed in by a couple of Rams, and is finally brought down, and the first guy to hit him was Jim Collins, number 50, who came up with the football, but after the play. So they are alive and well in Georgia. The Rams are troubled. It is 14-13 Falcons, 9:27 to the half. The interesting note there, of course, the Rams 0-1 in the conference, and the Falcons are 2-0 in the conference, even though they have the identical record of 3-2. All right, Atlanta will put it in play. 1st and 10. The ball on the Atlanta 46-yard line, and Bartkowski leading 14-13. And looking for more. He's going to go deep down the right sideline. Alfred Jenkins is pushed out of bounds. No good. Leroy Irvin was right there with him, stride for stride. Jenkins caught 8 balls against Philadelphia Monday night.
Good protection. He takes a short drop and throws the ball up on top. Irvin, number 47, is there step for step. The ball is thrown a little bit too far on the outside, and he can't quite get both feet in bounds.
You know, Atlanta has outscored their opponents in the second half by 54 points this year. That's the most in the NFL. So if they can get to halftime leading, they'll be rather optimistic down here in the South. 2nd and 10 on the Atlanta 46-yard line. Jenkins is on the left side this time, but they go quick to Jackson, who makes a good catch and is finally dropped by Lucius Smith as he crossed into Ram territory, and they spin him down somewhere around the 48-yard line.
They had a blitz coming inside. Everybody was on the line of scrimmage, and that time Bartkowski very wisely, automatic, changed the play, hit the inside receiver 1-for-1, and pick up a nice chunk on the play.
They did indeed, as they finally spot the ball at the 47-yard line. So it's 3rd down and 3, and you see the Jets. Richard Todd to Wesley Walker, 29 yards, a touchdown. Bartkowski now trying to keep it alive. A quick one across the middle, and it's complete to Alfred Jackson. Lucius Smith brings him down at the 35, and they pick up the 1st down easily. And apparently, a little man doesn't mind going across the middle.
No, it's 1-for-1 again, and he ran a slant pass, a blitz on the play, nobody covering underneath. And there you see him, Jackson making the catch, and number 23, Lucius Smith, covering on the play.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Ram 35-yard line. Drive started on the Atlanta 46. And Bartkowski will vary and give it to Kane and stay on the ground. And Kane is hardly able as he gets across the 35-yard line, drops it about the 34.
But he was still able to make a few yards on the play.
You like that, didn't you?
And Andrews really did a good job of blocking on the play. And really did a good job on the defensive linebacker.
You know, as you look at Steve Bartkowski, and note, he was held without a touchdown pass for the first time in 14 regular season games Monday night against Philadelphia. That snapped his club record, but he has come back today to get rich in a hurry.
And he's throwing much better at this stage of the game than he was early. He's following through and getting the ball where it has to be.
2nd and 9 on the Ram 34-yard line. Bartkowski with pressure supplied by Jack Youngblood. William Andrews makes a great reception. 2 great cuts, and he's still on his feet inside the 20. Oh, what a back he is.
And Andrews, again, he was out there to make a play, but he made an inside move. Talking about William Andrews. Breaks up the field. Watch this now. Watch George Andrews, 52. Watch him. He's got a chance to make a play in the open field. He's a little bit too high. For that reason, he overruns the play, cannot get back into the flow. And William Andrews, 31, really makes a super run on the play.
Boy, he is a super player. He's been the NFL's most consistent runner so far this year. Last year, he had 78 yards against the Rams, so he's a threat running and pass receiving. 1st and 10 on the Ram 18 and hold everything. So we'll see how that comes out. Amazing game, isn't it?
Wild.
A legal procedure, and it'll be against Atlanta.
I think it was 67.
Sanders?
Sanders, yes.
Eric Sanders is a rookie out of Nevada, Reno. Well, false start. Fred Silva is the referee. Ralph Moorcroft is the umpire. Frank Glover, the head linesman. Then you have Vern Marshall, Jim Kearney, Merrill Douglas, and Don Orr working the game today. 1st and 15 from the Rams' 23-yard line. Bartkowski with William Andrews to setback. Bartkowski looking over the middle and then goes out and throws it over Junior Miller's head. You know, an interesting bit of byplay. in the Ram locker room before the game, Hank, Pat Hayden said to me, "Who's the referee?" I said, "Fred Silva." He said, "Okay, thanks." I said, "Why did you want to know that?" He said, "I always like to greet the official by his name and say, 'Hi, Fred.'" A little deep thinking on the quarterback's part.
Yeah, he's not a great student for nothing.
That's right. He didn't go to Oxford just to pick up an accent.
Yeah, that's right.
There's the Atlanta bench. They were a picture of dejection just a few minutes ago, but the sun is shining for them now on a blue sky day in Atlanta. 2nd and 15 on the 23. Junior Miller is now a big wide receiver on the right side. Bartkowski looked left and deep, and he's got himself Alfred Jenkins for a touchdown.
Rod Perry and Leroy Irvin that time are double covering, and in spite of that, he gets right between the two guys talking about Jenkins, and he puts the ball right out of the air for the touchdown. Unbelievable catch. Watch it. Over the top. Look at Irvin inside, Perry outside. He gets between both of them. The ball is thrown right on the numbers. Touchdown, Atlanta Falcons.
And we should mention that Leroy Irvin is playing in the stead of Pat Thomas, an all-pro. And Thomas injured, and although Irvin has made a tremendous contribution with a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown, the Rams have to be a little weaker or a little less strong with Irvin instead of Thomas.
Yes, I think any time that you have to substitute a player for a player like Thomas, why you're going to be hurting. But here it is again.
By the way, for Jenkins, this is his 6th touchdown reception of the year. Those are the numbers on the scoring drive. We should have an asterisk and footnote. Remember William Andrews making that great run after the pass reception. That might have been the key play of the drive. All right, it is 21-13 Atlanta. Mick Luckhurst kicking from the 35-yard line. Drew Hill in the end zone, and this is the way it looks to Drew as he backs into the end zone and right on the goal line. Comes out to the 10, to the 20. Look out. He spun around and still on his feet and goes down just shy of the 50-yard line. So Drew Hill, who went to school here at Georgia Tech, you can take another look at that one.
Normally, if you can get the ball right about the goal line or the 5-yard line, you have that's a sweet spot as far as the return is concerned. He's got a good cavity, a good seam, makes a good move inside and outside, spins through the revolving door, so to speak, and it finally takes the ball up to about the 49-yard line. A beautiful return by Drew Hill, number 87.
So a 50-yard return, exactly, and they spot the ball at midfield. 1st and 10 Rams. Hayden play-action fake to Cullen Bryant. A lot of time, goes to the right side, juggled, and Waddy dropped it. He never did have reception, so it's not a case of a catch and a fumble. Waddy just juggled and dropped it.
Yes, he looked like he was a little nonchalant. The ball was a little low. He did not bend enough to make the catch, and then it looked like he was getting ready to anticipate getting hit, and didn't keep his eye on the ball, and it falls incomplete.
There you can see Atlanta's Bartkowski very heavily out in front now with 136 yards to Hayden's 23. Hayden is 2 for 9, and Bartkowski has completed 10. Lehman Bennett leading by 8 points right now, 21-13 Atlanta. 2nd and 10 at midfield for the Rams. And Hayden being rushed by Wilson Fomina and by Joe Laughlin. He got away from Laughlin, and he cranks it up to Denard, who makes a great diving catch at the Falcons' 16-yard line. Tom Pridemore defending, and there is a man down on the field. And that man is Pat Hayden. Hayden down on his knees, and it looks like a left ankle. So the hard luck kid is banged up again. It looked like Joe Laughlin will get him by the ankle, and then as he twisted away from Laughlin, I believe that's when he twisted his ankle.
Well, I tell you, he did a remarkable job that time escaping the pressure and then having enough presence and poise and composure to jump out of the pocket. Fomina, number 74, giving him a good rush. He jumps to the outside. Laughlin gets a piece of his foot. He throws the ball, and as he released the ball, he got hit. And that's when the injury occurred. But he got the ball right on the money. What a fantastic play by Pat Hayden. Yeah, watch him get hit late now. Watch as he throws the ball. Watch here now. He sets up, throws the ball, and Fomina, number 74, hits him and the leg caves in, the left leg caves in, and that's where the injury occurs.
So Falmina hitting after the ball had long been released, and Jeff Rutledge, who is a 3-year man, Alabama, and he was a kid when he was at Alabama who threw 30 touchdown passes to break Joe Namath's records at Alabama. So you know he can play. He was on the injured reserve last year with mononucleosis. He did make a start against the Bears. And in baseball, he was an outstanding athlete, and they tell me the Chicago Cubs drafted him. So Jeff Rutledge at the wheel, 1st and 10. But more important, of course, is the condition of Pat Hayden down on the far sidelines, having been hit late by Wilson Falmina.
Boy, that's really a shame because he's playing extremely well. They've been giving him good pass protection most of the time, but he improvised that time. Boy, he really did a terrific job of getting that ball downfield.
And it was a late hit, Hank. I'm surprised there wasn't a flag. What do you think about that?
Yes, it looked like it was very questionable.
That little cart, for the second time this year, they have to motor Pat Hayden off, and you can see that bag, the airbag, on his left ankle and foot and going up along the shin bone. And as soon as we get a report on Pat, naturally we'll pass it to you. Rutledge at the wheel, 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 15-yard line. Bryant and Tyler, the running backs, and Drew Hill is wide right, Denard is wide left. Rutledge will go quickly to Wendell Tyler, and Tyler bumped at the first down marker, but he had already stepped out a yard before, so that means he's out of bounds at the 6-yard line. You know, when you look back at Hayden this year, Hank, in '79 he broke his little finger when he caught it in a seam in Seattle. In 1980 he had a broken index finger when he hit a helmet. Then at the start of this year he was hit by Mike Butler of Green Bay and carried off the field, and now hit by Falmina in a bad leg. The kid really has gotten some terrible breaks.
Yeah, he's really had a lot of bad luck, and he's a terrific young quarterback.
2nd and 1 on the 6-yard line. So Jeff Rutledge will go to Cullen Bryant, and Big Cullen picks up the first down. Bryant not only doesn't fumble, although he did fumble against New Orleans, but he is so durable. You know, he started 41 consecutive games, and running backs don't usually have that.
Yes, and you know, the other great thing about Bryant is he doesn't have great speed, and for that reason he runs the draw and the screens and some of those plays that take a little time to develop extremely well.
You mean you'd rather have a slower runner on a screen?
No, if you throw the screen outside, you're better with a faster runner, but invariably the faster guys are not as patient as the slower guys.
The quick guys want to get going. 1st and goal from the 3. Wendell Tyler in motion. Cullen Bryant is carrying it inside Arnold's block, and they stack him up right around the goal line. And evidently he did not break the plane of the goal. The big block was by Walt Arnold, number 84. He was trying to fight off the pack for Cullen Bryant.
And Bryant, you know, the other thing I was going to mention, has great vision. Boy, he sees well, keeps his head up and his eyes open, and that helps him tremendously with his running ability.
Gary Ellis just scored from 7 yards out to give Green Bay a 7-0 lead over Tampa Bay. And, of course, next Sunday, Tampa Bay and Oakland. 2nd and goal from the 1. Second man, Wendell Tyler. And there's no sign. We are getting a report on Pat Hayden. I want to make sure that whoever tells me this report has an absolutely 100% official seal on it. So we'll wait a moment until we pass it to you. 3rd and goal on the 1.
Come in with 3 back this time.
Mike Goodman.
Goodman is in there at the halfback position.
So full house with Goodman. Bryant is the middleman, and Wendell Tyler on the left. And they're going to go play action fake and a pass. All alone is Henry Childs. So with the full house, the pass to Henry Childs.
And that's his first touchdown pass of the year for Henry Childs, I think, for the Rams. But he was wide open, looked like he ran right out of the bleachers.
Now the report that we get as you look at the play again on Pat Hayden. And the report comes from the Los Angeles bench through Charlie Dayton here of the Atlanta Falcons and on up to us. And the report reads as follows. Pat Hayden, left leg, broken at the ankle. What tragic news.
Oh, that's really a shame.
So the kick is up and good, and it is Atlanta 21 and the Rams 20. As Frank Corral continues to be perfect. He came into this game 15 for 15, and he had 55 straight before that, so he's automatic.
You know, with the injury to Pat Hayden, which is really a tragic thing, the trade, or the acquisition, I should say, of
Dan Pastorini?
Dan Pastorini really looms as a very important move.
So stay tuned to the second half of our exciting doubleheader. Dallas at San Francisco. Remember, San Francisco is 3-2. Detroit and Denver, Minnesota, San Diego, and St. Louis, and the Giants. Jeff Merrill went to the pits with a hamstring, and he will not see any more service today. So it's a tough ball game. Atlanta was down 13-0. Atlanta took a 21-13 lead. Then a 50-yard return of the kickoff by Drew Hill put the Rams in business. And on the pass to Childs, the Rams are right back in it again. Couple of scores, 21-14 Jets. Tony Collins from 8 yards out to score for New England. Cincinnati, Efren Herrera, a 40-yard field goal, and Seattle is leading Houston 3-0. Jim Breach, a 38-yard field goal. Cincinnati leading Baltimore 3-0. And Frank Corral teeing it up at the 35. We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds to the half. A wild first half it has been. There's the Ram plays, and of course it doesn't tell you about the 50-yard kickoff return by Drew Hill that set everything in motion. Corral kicking high but not very deep at all, and Reggie Smith from the 2-yard line to the 10, across the 20. He was hit by Carson at about the 18 and then fell forward, but he also gets a little hug from Lucius Smith. Seattle, as we just mentioned to you on that field goal, Efren Herrera, 3-0 over Houston. Do you like a kick return man to run all the way to one sideline and then get a wedge going, or do you like him to take it and go up the middle, or what, Hank?
Well, it's always predetermined. You have a middle, right, or left return. If you have a right return, the ball goes to the left. You got to go up the left side. You can't go all the way to the right side. It takes too long.
1st and 10 on the Atlanta 21, and the leaping attempt is no good. Francis had his hands on it, but Nolan Cromwell was all over him, and Francis unable to hold on to it. 2nd and 10 on the 21, 3 minutes, 17 seconds to the half. You know, you expect to see quarterbacks getting blitzed. Is there anything you do to tell a quarterback what to do when he's going to be hit, Hank?
Well, we used to have a rule of thumb whereby if he was going to get hit, and especially was falling backwards, we wanted him to grab the onrushing lineman or the linebacker and fall with him, because that way you'd only get one shot instead of two, the second one being when he hits the turf.
2nd and 10 on the Atlanta 21. Bartkowski getting some pressure, but he's still able to complete it to Junior Miller, and the flag's on the play. Handling him was Jim Youngblood, and we'll see now about the flag. The play got out to the 25. Whoops! Jim Youngblood is hot. And Jim Youngblood being restrained. Junior Miller is being restrained. And let's see about those flags now.
That's one of those boys will be boys things, I think, Ben.
Jim Youngblood is 6'3" and 231. Junior Miller is 6'4", 235. That'd be a pretty good battle.
Yes, it would be, but it wouldn't not much damage with all the gear they have.
That's right.
Personal foul. Defensive holding. Replay.
So the personal foul, evidently, against Jim Youngblood, but there was holding by the offensive line to try and buy time for Bartkowski, and they replayed it down.
Bartkowski does not get very good depth. He gets back about 6-7 yards. He throws the ball right on the money to Miller, but there's a penalty on the play.
So we go back to 2nd down and 10 on the Atlanta 21-yard line. It is 21-20 Atlanta. 3 minutes and 11 seconds to the half.
Well, the Rams have to do a better job of rushing the quarterback. They are not putting a lot of pressure on Bartkowski at all at this stage of the contest.
Francis and Jackson in a slot left, and Bartkowski has some time, and it's dropped by Jim Youngblood. Youngblood had the interception. The pass was intended for Lynn Kane, and after arguing with Junior Miller, would he have been happy had he run with that one?
Oh, there'd have been a lot of happiness in the air had he been able to catch that ball. That time it was right where it should be, and it looked like he did not keep his eyes on the ball. He tried to run with it before he actually got it. Good protection, and there you see it. He should have sucked that one up.
I tell you what, in his career, you know, he scored 4 touchdowns in the last 4 years, so he knows what to do.
Yes, usually he'll make that kind of a play.
So now it is 3rd and 10 on the Atlanta 20-yard line. Francis and Jackson in a slot left, and Bartkowski with time, and that means a completion to Jackson at the 40-yard line. It's something. Time is the key to the whole game, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. If the quarterbacks as efficient as they are, and especially the Bartkowski here, if he has time to throw the ball, which he has, that time they have Jenkins on the outside with Cromwell covering 1-for-1. Cromwell does not cover that much. Usually he's a free safety, and for that reason he got licked in the play. But the big reason, of course, he had time enough to throw.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 40-yard line, and Steve Bartkowski is 11 for 18, 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brian Sipe has just passed to Ozzie Newsom, 29 yards for a touchdown. Make it 10-7 Pittsburgh. Bartkowski likes it upstairs because he's getting protection. Going deep, no good. Intended for Alfred Jenkins. He had Rod Perry and Nolan Cromwell right there with him.
Yeah, Rod Perry that time got a good jump on the ball, was with him step for step. But it's good to throw the ball downfield. You get about, 9 chances to make big plays in a contest. And if you make 3 of them or 4 of them, they're 21, 28 points, and they're big plays.
I didn't expect so many points in this kind of a game. Did you, Hank?
No, very frankly, I didn't either.
2nd and 10 from the 40-yard line. Bartkowski leading by a point, 21-20, with 2:53 to the half. He has Junior Miller as a wide receiver left. He shakes him off the line, and they have a slot right.
Looks like they're going to blitz. They do.
And the backs stay in, and look out for Jim Youngblood. Youngblood has him and drops him at about the 32-yard line. So, boy, has 53 been prominent. First, the tackle on Junior Miller and the argument. Then he dropped the interception. Now he makes the sack.
Yes, and that time Sanders, it looks like, again, is having a little trouble trying to block Youngblood, which is a real tough responsibility for the young offensive tackle.
And we make that Jim Youngblood as the back stayed in to block, but he went right around William Andrews, did Jim Youngblood. So 3rd and 18. The ball is back on the Atlanta 33-yard line. Jenkins goes left. And here comes Jack Youngblood. Jack Youngblood just ran right over Sanders. And for Eric Sanders, number 67, there was no way he could have kept Jack Youngblood out.
No way at all, unless he held him. Here we see it again. Doss, number 71, putting pressure up the middle. But Jack Youngblood, number 85, comes in from the left side and makes the tackle and licks the right offensive tackle, Eric Sanders.
So it was 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 40, and then the Youngbloods got busy. First Jim and then Jack. Now it is 4th and 27 on the 24. The clock shows we have come to the 2-minute warning, but we are waiting for official word on that. (21-20) in favor of Atlanta. And of course for the Falcons now, they had a drive underway, but John James is going to have to come in and punt. James is an interesting punter. John is from the University of Florida, 10 years in the league. He was hoping to go the entire season without a touchback. As you look at Steve Bartkowski, James saw that goal vanish with a punt in the end zone against the Eagles. But nevertheless, John James with only 1 touchback this year. That's well over 21 punts. So he's quite a kicker. Don't forget, the second half of our exciting doubleheader. St. Louis at New York, Dallas at San Francisco, Detroit at Denver, Minnesota at San Diego. And remember as well, San Francisco with a record of 3-2, the identical record held by Atlanta and Los Angeles, a 3-way tie for first place in the NFC West. So John James will be the punter. Leroy Irvin will be the deep man for Ray Malavasi and company. And for Malavasi and Atlanta, They well know how quickly a game can turn around. It was all Los Angeles. They cashed in some breaks, plus a touchdown, 2 field goals, and led 13-0. Suddenly, the football took Atlanta bounces, and they lead 21-20. And here is John James. James standing on his 10, and Leroy Irvin, who ran a punt 75 yards for a touchdown, is standing on the Ram 35-yard line. The Rams cannot come, and James takes advantage of it as he pumps it to Leroy Irvin at the 31. And Irvin fumbled. He fumbled in front of the Ram bench, and it looks like it might have been an Atlanta recovery. It is.
Boy, what a wild turn of events in this contest so far. Isn't it crazy?
Yep, it is Atlanta ball. Although there was no way to find out who recovered it. It was on the far side of the field. It might have been John James, the punter, who finally fell on it as he rolled over maybe 5 yards or 10 behind Leroy Irvin because the ball bounced around crazily. So we said he's a remarkable punter. He is indeed, to recover his own punt. And for Leroy Irvin, you talk about from the penthouse to the basement. 1 minute, a 75-yard touchdown return, and now a fumble.
And last week on the Monday night game, here we see it again. See what happens. He sees a little seam. Ball is jarred loose.
It's still alive on the right side. And there he is, number 6. John James fell on the ball.
And looked like Lucius Smith had a chance to fall on it, but didn't get the job done. And the Rams have possession.
It is 1st and 10 on the Rams 40-yard line, but wait a minute.
Yeah, it looks like the Rams. It looked like really Lucius Smith recovered that fumble on the far sideline. If we could see that picture again.
And then maybe James fell on it after the whistle.
Yes.
Now Steve Bartkowski saying, would you mind telling me what's going on? And Fred Silva obliges, and the offensive unit for Atlanta walks up the field. James was out of bounds. Let's take another look. What's number 6? That's John James, and what's the football, and especially what's the OB line?
And what's number 23? There's 23. And James is out of bounds. No question about that.
So the Rams keep the ball. 1st and 10 on the Rams 40-yard line. And they don't like it one bit here, as you can well imagine. Rutledge looking once and then cranks up and lets it go deep. And his man is Drew Hill. It's intercepted by Bobby Butler. And Butler, the rookie, is to the 10, to the 15-yard line, looking for help. He's going to go the other way. Butler is to the 20, still on his feet and dragged down at the 21-yard line. Preston Denard finally tackled Bobby Butler, the rookie out of Florida State. What a key reception.
Well, you talk about the hound and the hare that time, going all over the place. A beautiful interception. The ball was thrown just a little bit too short. Just a little bit short. He whistles it down the field, but he has to wait. And Butler comes in at the right moment, makes a leaping interception. And the ball was intended, of course, for number 87, Drew Hill.
For Butler, that was his 2nd interception and his 1st return with one.
Atlanta, 83 and 36. Los Angeles, after the play, 1st down.
So Atlanta has his 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 21-yard line, and there's Bobby Butler. You know, he blocked 7 punts when he was in college. He's that quick off the line.
Yes, they tell me he has 4.4, 4.5 speed, and
he was on the relay team for Florida State that came in 3rd in the NCAA championship, so he can move it.
Yeah, he's a great athlete.
1st and 10 on the Atlanta 21-yard line. 21-20 Atlanta. Bartkowski going to Lynn Kane, and he disappears as he drops at the 25-yard line. Reggie Doss and Cody Jones putting a squeeze on him. Lynn Kane, of course, 3 years out of SC. Last year in the finale, he ran well against the Rams, 81 yards. Today, he only has 13. William Andrews has rushed for 39. But Bartkowski has passed well against the Rams. He's completed 11 for 2 touchdowns. 2nd and 6 on the 25. Lynn Kane again with Andrews blocking. And Lynn finally goes down with Carl Eckern, dropping him at about the 28 or 29-yard line. He has to get to the 31 for the first down. Lynn Kane, coming into this game, carried the ball 45 times. Andrews almost twice as many carries. But today, they're carrying about the same. Anything to get from that?
No, I think they're trying to exercise good balance. And any time that you have both backs running about the same number of times, why, it's a little more pressure on the defense. And I think that's what they're trying to do here this afternoon.
Also, remember Jack Whitaker on his legends on Lance Allworth at halftime. And we have just run out of time. This has been Scully along with Hank Stram in Atlanta, Georgia. You all where the Falcons are riding high, 21-20. You hear?
Yeah.
Welcoming you back to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. In a wild first half, the wildest game we've seen in quite a while. There are the stats, but they don't really tell you much except a couple of turnovers. And the fact that Atlanta, down 13-0, now finds itself on top 21-20. But perhaps the best news we have to repeat and pass along to you. We were so cautious. We didn't want to rush on the air with faulty information. We were assured it was accurate information. It first came from the Ram bench. Then it came from the Atlanta Falcons publicity man that Pat Hayden had a broken leg. And only when we finally got that did we put it on the air. And don't you know, just a few minutes ago, they said, no, we've taken x-rays and there's no break. Well, I'll say one thing, Hank. If you got to be wrong, I'm glad we're wrong. The fact that a serious injury is not. It's a contusion and no break.
Yeah, that's really good news.
It is discouraging, however, to be sit up here and to be a slave to misinformation, because you can imagine the ripple effect in Southern California along the network on the injury to Hayden. But that's history. He's not seriously injured, and Reggie Smith will start the second half out of the end zone. And the little guy stumbles and goes down hard as he got out across the 20-yard line. So Atlanta will put it in play, 1st and 10, somewhere around the 20-yard line, leading 21-20.
And I look for the Rams to play with a lot more emotion and in the second half because of what happened to Pat Hayden. I think they're very upset about that hit, and I think they're going to play very, very well in the second half.
We received word again that the Ram bench was absolutely incensed over the tackle by Wilson Formina. Meanwhile, William Andrews trying to go wide, grabbed by George Andrews and pushed out by Rod Perry. As he ran laterally and might have picked up a couple. So there's a lot of feeling and bad feeling down on the field, and this ought to be quite a slugfest in the second half.
Yes, from a competitive standpoint, you know, it's very obvious that the two teams have a strong feeling about the game and the way it's going to be played, but I think from an emotional standpoint, I think the Rams will have an advantage in the second half again because of what happened to Pat Hayden.
So it is 2nd and 8. Ball almost on the 24-yard line. In fact, to be a little more accurate, let's call it 2nd and 9. In motion is Wallace Francis, picked up by Leroy Irvin, but they're going to stay on the ground to William Andrews. He butts heads, and he finally gets out to the 30-yard line. He and Nolan Cromwell hit head-on, and Andrews still fought his way out, and there are flags on the play. He has to get out to almost the 33-yard line for the first down. And from the looks of things, it'll be against Atlanta.
And I think Atlanta, when they have better field position, they have to do a better job of throwing the ball on 1st and 10. And
Offense, number 70. Holding.
Dave Scott.
2nd down.
And especially have to throw the ball on 1st and 10, and especially to the backs, working on the linebackers, and also working some to their tight end.
All right, we'll see what they can come up with on a 2nd and 19 from the Atlanta 13-yard line. They send Jenkins wide right. Jackson goes wide left. And they put Wallace Francis in the slot right. And they even loosen up Junior Miller from tight end and put him in motion.
And they're playing with 5 defensive backs.
And Bartkowski is going to throw it over the head of Junior Miller and out of bounds.
See, there was another illustration of Bartkowski throwing the ball way before he was ready to, as far as the release is concerned, and it flew way over the top and out of bounds because he did not have a good follow-through again.
Of course, Hayden knows all about that. That's how he broke a finger the same way.
And we had Lenny Dawson back years ago, did the same thing in one of our inter-squad games where he broke a thumb.
So it is 3rd and 19. The ball is on the Atlanta 13-yard line. Atlanta leading 21-20, just the start of the second half. Same formation, basically, with Jackson left and a slot right. And another mile-high pass out of the hands of Johnny Johnson. It was intended for Alfred Jackson.
Yeah, he's throwing the elevator ball. It keeps going up because, again, he's not following through after he delivers the ball.
So Steve Bartkowski leaves the field. He has completed 11 of 21 for 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's had 1 interception, and he's been sacked twice. And John James will be punting out of the end zone. And Leroy Irvin, who has figured prominently in this game, is standing on the Ram 45. James gets it away and deep over to the left side. Irvin doesn't get any chance to return it, and it'll go out of bounds at the Ram 37-yard line. Boy, he can thump him.
Boy, he really booted that one.
Oh, that's 63 yards right out of the barrel. 21-20 Atlanta. And Jeff Rutledge, the quarterback for the injured Pat Hayden. Wendell Tyler hit at the line of scrimmage but kept on going. Bob Glazebrook was on a blitz and bumped him, but Tyler just kept on going.
Yeah, he looked like a linebacker that time. He was that close to the line of scrimmage. They wind up with an 8-man front. And against an 8-man front, you have to recognize that, Ben, and throw the ball downfield because you've got 3 men defending against your outside receivers man for man, and you ought to be able to do a good job.
Of course, you have young Jeff Rutledge, 3 years out of Alabama, who hasn't played very much, calling the signals now. 2nd and 5 on the 42. That's Henry Childs in motion. They pitch to Wendell Tyler, and there he goes. On his back is Tom Pridemore, and finally Pridemore bringing him down across midfield. So Wendell Tyler in a burst gets the first down.
They sent Henry Childs in motion and run a pitch to the outside. Bryant is out leading. He sees the cavity inside, takes advantage of it, is hit there by number 27, Pridemore, but he makes a good gain in the play.
1st and 10 on the Atlanta 48-yard line. That's Wendell Tyler so far, a little more than 3 yards a carry up to the moment. And he'll get another chance. And he cracks to the 40-yard line before they drop him. So Tyler carrying the ball now for his 9th carry.
And they're doing a much better job of controlling the line of scrimmage, especially when they go straight ahead. As we talked about early in the game, you have to run right at the Atlanta defense. It's tough to go sideways on them unless you do it quickly from the I formation.
Well, a couple of straight ahead plays make it a 2nd and 2 on the 40-yard line of Atlanta. And they'll try Tyler again, only this time he is grabbed by White at the ankles and dropped as he crossed the 40-yard line. That's Lyman White, a rookie out of LSU. And you know what they said about him at LSU? He was the best tackler in the history of the school. That's not a bad line to come on.
That's a pretty strong recommendation, especially coming from a great university like LSU with a great football tradition that they've established through the years.
Remember they had the Chinese bandits years ago.
Yes.
3rd and 1 on the 39. So this is a big play for Los Angeles, and especially Jeff Rutledge, the young quarterback. Bryant and Tyler, and it's Wendell Tyler, and he's hit by Buddy Curry, and that makes it questionable. Buddy Curry, number 50, hit him coming in from the right side, and now it's the question of spotting the ball. But Curry did a good job.
Yes, he did. And here again, when you take the ball from the left side of the ball and run all the way over to the right side, by the time you get there, those linebackers pursue so fast that it's really hard to make the yardage that you need sometime, especially on a short yardage situation.
I would guess the chain gang is a nightmare for a coach. There's no real way to honestly say where the ball should be spotted.
No, it all depends on how they mark it.
Yep. Extend the chains, he didn't make it. And they can thank Buddy Curry for that. So it's 4th down. Rutledge is looking over at Ray Malavasi. Drew Hill and Denard come out.
They got to go for it.
Yep.
They must go for it.
So you talk about a moment of truth for Ray Malavasi, the Rams, and the Falcons. Here it is. 4th and 1 from the 39-yard line. They have Arnold on a wing on the right side, and they're going to go to Bryant straight ahead. And it would appear that Big Cullen has picked up the first down.
If he didn't, we better have an investigation.
9 years out of Colorado. Cullen Bryant. 6'1", 236 pounds. He can really carry it.
You know, the field turned out to be in good shape. I was afraid. I've been here 2 days, and it rained like gangbusters for 2 days. I thought we'd have a sloppy track, but it's turned out just to be perfect.
Yeah, it sure is. And they, of course, have put the sod down to cover up the baseball infield. 1st and 10 on the 36. Rutledge setting deep and going deep, and all alone is Drew Hill. Drew Hill, who played at Georgia Tech, steals that one on Bobby Butler. So little Drew goes deep and wins it easily.
Boy, what a nice looking play. Play action fake. Set him up nicely because they've run so well, throwing on 1st and 10. The fake itself was not very good. He has time to throw the ball, however. Kuykendall, 54, was blitzing and stopped on the play. Delivers the ball right on the outside against Bobby Butler. Drew Hill making the reception, number 87.
That's his second touchdown pass this year. It was a 36-yard touchdown pass. The other one was 30. And I guess you could just about call him automatic Frank Corral. The spot by Cromwell, the kick, and he barely did get it up and get it through, but he did. So with 11 minutes and 4 seconds, as you take another look at the touchdown pass to Drew Hill, the Rams are back out on top, 27-21. The runs of Wendell Tyler, the clutch 4th and 1 play by Cullen Bryant, all leading up from Jeff Rutledge pass to Drew Hill for the touchdown. For Jeff Rutledge, that was his second touchdown of the year. So the Rams leading 27-21, and Frank Corral will be kicking off, and the deep man is little Reggie Smith. All 5'4", and he gets a knuckleball to field this time. Takes it at the goal line to the 15, and he's hit and dropped at the 20-yard line, and the first man down to get him was a fellow you don't hear much about, but you like to mention them especially when you don't hear much about him. Jairo Peñaranda, who's from UCLA, born in Colombia, and Peñaranda was down there to make the tackle.
And he ran down the field like it was a 40-yard sprint, just like you have to do to make a good play.
How about this score? If this were a little earlier in the year, I think it's a baseball game. 10-5 Cincinnati. Anderson passing to Collingsworth for a TD, and look at Oakland. They're shut out again. It's 13-0 through 3 quarters. If they get through 3, they're coming off 2 blankings in a row. Bartkowski looking to the left, a high pass out of Junior Miller's hands, and there's a flag on the play. Apparently, it's amazing the momentum of the game, Hank, how it goes back and forth, and right now it's all Los Angeles again.
Yes, it keeps changing all the time, and it's funny how sometimes you have to have a shock, get a shock of some kind to get you back in the contest. Early in the game, the Rams scored so easily that I think they kind of went to sleep a little bit. Next thing you know, they're behind in the game. And I think what happened to Pat Hayden has made a big difference in the emotional attitudes about the Rams at this particular stage of the game.
Holding, number 67, 1st down.
So the offense, again, that's the young man, Eric Sanders, who is playing for Warren Bryant. And unfortunately, he's caught for holding again. It's 1st and 20 on the Atlanta 12-yard line. Bartkowski with both backs releasing, throwing to Wallace Francis, who is pushed out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Rod Terry's there defending.
That's a good play on the part of Bartkowski. He didn't want to get it all back at one time. He gets a good chunk and puts him in a good position now on 2nd down.
We repeat the fact that at least in the early going of 1981, the Falcons have outscored their opponents 74-20 in the second half. No team has given up fewer second half points, and only San Diego and Cincinnati have scored more in the second half. So you expect Atlanta to come alive.
Now they have 5 defensive backs. Lucius Smith just came into the contest.
2nd and 6 on the 24-yard line, and Bartkowski again going over there to Junior Miller, no good, and this time Joe Harris was defending against the tight end. So Bartkowski trying to nibble instead of going for big bites, and the crowd doesn't like it.
No, they don't like it, but that's exactly what he should do. He just threw the ball a little bit out in front that time, We've talked about Sanders several times on Youngblood. This time we get a good picture of it, and he does a good job on Youngblood this time. A little pushing and shoving on the play, but he got the job done.
So it is 3rd and 8 on the 24-yard line. And Bartkowski looking for a solution to keep his ball club moving. Rams trying to get at him. It's Fanning who hits him late. Andrews makes the reception, but Jim Youngblood drops him before he can pick up the first down. You know, William Andrews has only carried the ball 7 times today.
Yeah, that's unusual because they feel they have to get the ball to him to win. And he's a good pass receiver along with him, a good blocker. He made a good move that time on Youngblood, but didn't go far enough downfield to make the catch and also make the yardage.
And if he tried to go further downfield, Bartkowski was going to take an awful lick from Mike Fanning. So Fanning put on a little bit of pressure. That's Drew Hill, the deep man, and Leroy Irvin also back there. And John James arrows one towards Drew Hill at the 25 of Los Angeles. And Drew starts one way, gets by Laughlin, gets by Musser, and then runs out of bounds in a sea of red shirts.
Now, he exercised good judgment that time. It was very obviously a right return, but he caught the ball on the left side, make a move to the right, came down the left sideline, made a lot more yards than he would have the other way.
This full house at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium saw what certainly figures to be the biggest single play of the day late in the second quarter. Pat Hayden was scrambling. Joe Laughlin missed him. Wilson Firmino was chasing him. Hayden finally set, unloaded, and got rid of the ball. And you see Firmino was in the act of tackling. Well, when Hayden went down, the report we had, and we sure took our time before we gave it, but the report we had was that Pat had suffered a broken lower left leg, and he was taken off in an airbag. However, just moments before the second half began, X-rays showed no break. A severe contusion, but no break. So in case you missed it, or in case you heard the first report and not the second, we're happy to pass that along. 1st and 10 on the Ram 39-yard line. Jeff Rutledge is the Ram quarterback now that Hayden is out. He'll go on the ground to Wendell Tyler, and he'll spin with flags on the play. Tyler gets out across the 45-yard line.
We should probably mention then it didn't look like a late hit like we thought initially, because he was committed to making the play, and for that reason Jack Reeder of the league office came in at halftime and explained the play and said that really it wasn't a late hit by the way they looked at it in the standards of the National Football League.
So on a 1st and 10, we'll see now what happens. It goes back to the 29-yard line, the penalty against the Rams.
Offense, number 75, holding.
That's Irv Pankey. Pankey playing for Doug Franz, and Irv, quite a young player, 2 years out of Penn State. He was a linebacker and a tight end at Penn State. He's 6'4", 272, and he has the mark of a really good one, Hank.
Yeah, they like him very much, and from all indications, he's going to be a super player.
1st and 20 on the Rams 29. It's 27-21 Los Angeles. Denard is left, and Rutledge setting up, getting some heat, but he gets a little screen to Cullen Bryant. And Bryant breaking the screen to the 40, and that's where he goes down. Richardson, the last man to hit him at the 40-yard line. So they picked up 11, and that would make it a 2nd and 9 at the 40.
That was a good-looking play, a play-action screen, faking to the right and then throwing back to Cullen Bryant on the left side. He does a good job of picking his way. Hera gets a block out in front, but it's a good high percentage play, and now they're in a 2nd and 8 situation.
Interesting point. You know that Rutledge is just 1 yard less than what Hayden had while Pat was in the game passing. Hayden passed for 58 yards. Rutledge has already passed for 57. And Jeff is going to go for a big bite, and it is bobbled and dropped. It was intended for Preston Denard. Bobby Butler, who had picked off one earlier, little guy couldn't quite grab that one.
You know, the strong safety, Glazebrook, is playing up there so close most of the time, especially on run situations, that you ought to be able to throw the ball on the 3 defensive backs and especially get the ball to the tight end a little bit more than they have so far in this contest.
So it's a big 3rd down play for the Rams now. The ball is just across the 40-yard line. Philadelphia has sure opened it up now on New Orleans, 31-7. Frank LeMaster ran 47 yards with a fumble for a touchdown, and we'll be in Minnesota to see a big one for the Eagles and the Vikings next week. From the 40, Rutledge on a 3rd and 9. Bryant stays in to block. Rutledge has some time, but all his receivers are recovered. And the Alabama Flash is still going at the 45-yard line, and they bend him every which way.
You know, right or wrong, when you're a ball carrier, right or wrong, you must make a decision and go. You can't do a little tap dance because the whole stadium falls in on you. That's exactly what happened to Rutledge on the play.
You think he was doing a little tap dance?
He looked like he did. I don't know whether he got any taps on his shoes or not, but he was tap dancing out there instead of going up the field and getting the first down. He could have made the first down.
So it's 4th and 4, and Frank Corral will be kicking for the Rams from the Ram 35-yard line. Scott Warner, number 30, standing on the Atlanta 10-yard line. Good snap and the kick by Corral. Wobbly, fielded at the 15-yard line by Warner, and on a full head of steam, Warner is out to midfield and into Ram territory.
That was a bad kick. It looked like it was on the trolley line. It was very low. He got a great jump on the ball and brought it back in good shape, but that was a bad kick.
You talk about great hang time. There was no hang time at all on that one. A line drive wobbler, and Warner makes a big return. That's Scott Warner, who just made a 38-yard return. He went to school at Georgia. So down here they say that dog can run. And he ran.
Get a couple of U-bits in there, too.
All right, 1st and 10 on the Ram 47-yard line. William Andrews, the up back, with Kane behind him. Play action fake by Bartkowski, and he's looking fairly deep, overthrowing Alfred Jenkins, and coming out of nowhere was Nolan Cromwell to swing across and help out with Rod Perry. And there's a flag on the play.
And again, the Rams are not getting very much pressure on the quarterback. A play action fake that time. He has all the time in the world to throw. And again, he throws the ball a little bit too high, and the thing was almost intercepted that time by Nolan Cromwell, number 21.
Penalty will be against the Rams, and we'll see if Fred Silva.
He'll get it right. 52, defensive holding, first.
All right, that's George Andrews, guilty of the infraction. Defensive holding. 1st and 10 on the 42-yard line of Los Angeles. The Rams leading 27-21. Bartkowski to Andrews, and Andrews somehow got across the 40. I think the play originally started out where he was going to go around Youngblood, but Jack Youngblood turned it in, and Andrews, big but quick, was able to make it a plus instead of a minus.
That's why it's so important. Look at this. Kansas City 20, Oakland nothing. That goes about 11 or 12 quarters without getting a point.
That's right. It's 11. 11 quarters. Bill Kenny to Henry Marshall just tacked on another 7 for Kansas City. So it is a 2nd down play, and in motion is Wallace Francis as the Falcons trying to keep the drive alive, and there goes William Andrews across the 30. Still going. Will you look at that runaway truck? Oh, what a back here.
You know, he's a very fluid guy, and he's not very large at 200 pounds. He and Kane are about the same size, but they do a great job of blocking for each other. And you know what they've done here? They've kind of destroyed the key to what they've done from formations. Normally from this formation, they run to the remaining back. In this particular case, Kane. This time they ran away from Kane, gave the ball without any lead, and he popped through there for a big game.
They went for 26, so it's 1st and 10 on the Rams' 12-yard line. In motion is Francis, picked up by Rod Perry. And Bartkowski to Andrews again. This time by the sheer weight of numbers he's dropped as he crossed the 10-yard line. One of the reasons that 26-yard run worked, the people who were trying to stop him alone, first Nolan Cromwell, he just shed him off like the old water of a duck's back. Rod Perry got him and just took a ride. They were just too small to bring him down. In the Jets game, Darrell Ray on a 44-yard interception, and it's 28-14 Jets. And look at that one, Cincinnati 17-5 over Baltimore. Kenny Anderson passing to Dave Urson. 2nd and 6 from the 8-yard line. The Falcons trying to get back out in front again. And they have a slot right. Jenkins and Francis. Jackson was in motion. The pass to Jackson. Touchdown. And he just ran by Johnny Johnson and took it in. And it's all tied 27 all.
Bartkowski did a super job that time of reading the coverage. Got the ball to Jackson straight toward the goalpost, right into the end zone on a quick shot. Again, there's no pressure. You don't have much time to get pressure that time. And he licks Johnny Johnson, it looked like, on the play. And he goes in for the touchdown. It looked like Johnson fell down on the play trying to get a jam on it.
Yeah, he just ran right by him. So Bartkowski tosses another one. His third touchdown pass. This one to Alfred Jackson. The hold, and there's a flag on the play. So let's see. It is good, and we'll see if the penalty is against the Rams. If so, that'll be marked off on the kickoff. Offsides, Rams. So the kick is good. It is 28-27 in favor of Atlanta. And the place, the Falcons' lair or nest, is going wild. 5 plays, 47 yards, and remember the 38-yard return by Scott Warner started it all off, and Bartkowski hitting Alfred Jackson for the 8-yard touchdown. The point after by Mick Luckhurst, and it is 28-27 Falcons. 5:37 left in the third quarter, and a lot of people thought this was going to be a low-scoring game, and Drew Hill is not going to take it out of there. So it's a great game here in Atlanta, and there's a tremendous amount of responsibility taking off Bartkowski's shoulders for a while, and it's transferred to the young shoulders of Jeff Rutledge. Rutledge playing for the injured Pat Hayden. Don't forget, stay tuned to the second half of our exciting doubleheader. Dallas at San Francisco, St. Louis at New York, Detroit at Denver, Minnesota at San Diego. 1st and 10 on the 20-yard line for the Rams. And there is Rutledge. Second man, Wendell Tyler, but he's stacked up and then drives for an extra yard or 2 on his own. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons with William Andrews taking a well-deserved respite along with Lynn Kane, number 21. They have been the ball carriers. Andrews has carried 10 times and Kane has carried 9. And all they have done is set up the Rams with good running for Bartkowski's knockout punches. Steve has passed for 3 touchdowns. There's Rutledge's numbers.
Look at that strong safety right on the line of scrimmage again, Ben. Look at that.
We'll see now. Glazebrook comes in, number 36. He's picked up nicely on the right side. They set up a screen for Cullen Bryant, and Bryant will pick up the first down as he's knocked out of bounds by Tom Pridemore. Jackie Slater picked up Glazebrook, and that's what really made that play work. You can take another look at it.
Yeah, he was like an extra linebacker on the play, but they blocked him through a screen in the area. Had a lot of room. There you see it. Bryant makes the catch. Herr out in front, getting a piece of a block. Knocks the defensive back down, specifically Tom Pridemore, and they pick up a nice chunk on the play.
So 1st and 10 on the Ram 38, a pickup of 18 on that screen. Now they send Denard left, and Drew Hill goes right. Big Henry Childs is on a wing.
He usually goes in motion from this formation. This time he did not.
And Tyler on the wide turn, but Glazebrook boxed him in, and down he goes. Kuykendall is on the top, and White is on the bottom. But again, number 36, Bob Glazebrook, makes his presence known.
Yeah, he's like playing against an extra linebacker if you're not careful. And that's why you really got to pump the ball up and get it downfield to take advantage of the way he plays. You got a 3-man coverage back there with him playing so close to the line of scrimmage. There you see him, number 36, coming across and making the play. You know what happened on the play, too? They got off to a bad start. They did not get a good jump on the ball, a good drive off the line of scrimmage.
They lost a yard, so it is 2nd and 11 on the Ram 37, and Rutledge brings him up with Denard left. He puts Wendell Tyler on a wing and now moves him into a slot, and the Rams are confused. It was Tyler who wasn't sure of the formation. Cullen Bryant tried to help out, but when Tyler started on a wing and then hesitantly went over towards the slot, they had to call time.
And that's a very wise thing to do. If there's any indecision, you don't know what you're supposed to do, you're better off to call timeout. Even though you hate to waste them, call timeout, but you don't want to take a chance of making a big mistake and then coughing up the football.
Well, we have a great game today, but there's always next week. There will be until we get to the end of December. And we'd like to remind you, be with us next weekend for another exciting NFL doubleheader on CBS. Check your local listings for the game in your area. And there they are, the early games. New Orleans, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Minnesota, St. Louis, Atlanta, San Francisco, Green Bay, and the late games, Washington, Miami, Giants at Seattle, and Tampa Bay, Oakland. All right, Rutledge has had his say. Meanwhile, Lehman Bennett doing a little listening on the Atlanta side. 28-27 Atlanta. 3 minutes and 59 seconds left in the third. Houston leading Seattle. Earl Campbell from 1 yard out to get Houston out in front, 14-10.
Lehman Bennett there with Jimmy Ray, receiver coach, talking about things that they probably will have a chance to do when they get the ball again.
I was wondering, you know, you spend all week giving a game plan as you see Pat Hayden in street clothing limping, but that's a lot better with a contusion of the left leg rather than the broken leg that they told us he had. So the good news, he's okay.
Yeah, and he's walking pretty good, too.
That'll give the club a lift, of course, his presence on the sideline. I was wondering, because of Tyler's hesitancy, you spend all week teaching a game plan. Maybe you ought to give the guys exams for a game plan.
You know, that's exactly what we did. And we gave tests on the airplanes all the time if we travel out of town, and gave them at home. And, of course, one time we said our first game in 1960, you mentioned that we're going to have a test on the airplane, and Cheryl Hedrick, our middle linebacker, said, "Hey, Coach, I don't know anything about airplanes."
2nd and 11 on the 37, and Rutledge is buried. Al Richardson, number 56, is coming in from the left side, and Al Richardson drops the young quarterback back on the Ram 30-yard line.
There you see Richardson, number 56, and as we mentioned, he's not very large. He's about 2'6". Great speed, and also White. Lehman White is also blitzing on the play. They get the penetration. They don't pick him up, and for that reason, they're thrown for a loss.
Lyman White, unfortunately for him, was blocked by Cullen Bryant, but no one had Richardson, and he made the sack. So it is 3rd and 18 on the Ram 30-yard line. In motion is Drew Hill. Both backs release. Harrah drops back for pass protection, and the pass is complete to Cullen Bryant, and there is Glazebrook again. You know, an interesting thing about Glazebrook, he was cut 3 times by Atlanta. He was also cut by Oakland. He was cut last year and re-signed. He's a kid who wants to play.
Yeah, they just put a Band-Aid on those cuts and let him play.
Yeah, it's great to see a guy who has so much trouble making the club, now making big contributions.
Yeah, he dances every dance. He plays all the time, and he's a great contributor to a football team.
So Frank Corral will be punting from the Ram 25-yard line, and deep is Scott Warner. Remember, Warner made a big 38-yard return just a few moments ago. And it is somewhat of a low punt, but this time he just did get out of the way of Peñaranda, and he got out to the 35. Jairo Peñaranda, the kid from Colombia. You just missed it.
You know, I'm not trying to say that.
There he goes. Well, and all of his syllables.
Peñaranda. He's a nice size.
He's from a little town in Colombia, Barranquilla. And they tell me he runs the 40 in the 4.7. And he's 217 pounds. And he got down there in a hurry.
Yeah, he's very stocky and moves very well.
1st and 10 on the Falcon 35-yard line. 28-27 Atlanta. 2:51 left in the third. It is a beauty. In motion is the tight end, Junior Miller, but it's a draw play to Lynn Kane, and he bumped into somebody and then got loose. He's at the 45, got away from Leroy Irvin, and bought some more yardage to about the 48-yard line. Lynn Kane was lost in a crowd, I guess, on that play.
You know, you talk about the good backs being able to stretch the losses into gains, and that's exactly what he does here. He runs into the line of scrimmage and bounces off and jumps to the outside. Good vision, good move, and gets a nice gain out of the play. Irvin, number 47, tried to grab him instead of using his shoulder pads. Very poor tackling on the part of the Rams.
So it is a 1st and 10. It went from the 35 to the 48, so they picked up 13 yards on that busted draw play. Bartkowski looking left, throwing high to Junior Miller, and Johnny Johnson takes him out of bounds. But in Ram territory at the Ram 48. The Falcons have to get to the Ram 42 for a 1st down.
When you talk about, you know, I see backs who stretch no gainers into big gainers, I invariably think about the great back we had at Kansas City, Mike Garrett. He was a great escape runner. He'd run into the pile and look like he was going to get tackled and then squirm out of traffic and get big gains on plays. He was a super runner.
28-21 Jets, but Grogan passed to Hasselback to get New England back in that ball game. 2nd and 6 on the 48. Bartkowski tries Andrews again, and he is stopped at the 45-yard line. Johnny Johnson came out of his safety position, number 20, to hit him. Otherwise, he might have picked up the first down.
You know, and Atlanta's doing a good job of destroying a key and a tendency they've established over a
Wait a
period.
minute. What does that mean, destroying the key?
Well, normally from a formation, you go to a certain side of the football, and that formation, they normally go to the remaining back to destroy that tendency. They've been going away from that remaining back and have been doing a good job.
I'm going to ask you about a key and what you see down there in a moment. This is 3rd and 3 on the 45-yard line. Bartkowski over the middle. He's got Wallace Francis, and he is upended by Leroy Irvin, but he picked up the first down at about the Ram 34-yard line. Can you spot tendencies? Do you know where they're going most of the time?
Most of the time you can by where the tight end is lined up and where the alignment of the two backs. Sometimes the one back will tip where he's going to go, and for that reason, 90% of the time from up here, I can tell where the ball is going to go.
Well, then maybe what I ought to do once in a while on pivotal plays is to ask you to read it and tell us where it's going.
Fine, be glad to do that. As long as you ask me at the right time when I know I'm going to be right.
I got you. 1st and 10 on the Ram 34-yard line. And here comes Lynn Kane, and they stack him up. He had nowhere to go. Look at all those white shirts. Johnny Johnson came up, but it was George Andrews at the bottom of the pile. Kansas City, I can't imagine what has happened to Oakland.
Boy, that's hard to believe, isn't it?
Shut out consecutively, and now being shut out for the 3rd consecutive time. Bill Kenny to J.T. Smith, the latest Kansas City touchdown, 27-0. There's 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter for Oakland to do something.
It's hard to believe they would lose 3 games in a row and especially get shut out in the process.
Well, that's the end of the 3rd quarter here in Atlanta. The Falcons 28 and the Rams 27. We'll be back with the start of the 4th quarter after this word from your local station. Hurry back, yeah? And the Falcons go slot right. Jackson is wide left.
Look at the bump and run on the outside, then. They might try to go up on top. Here they go.
Bartkowski got it away with Johnson just about on his back, and there's a flag on the play. Johnny Johnson was blitzing, and John buried him, and Bartkowski was just able to get rid of the ball. Johnny Johnson, of course, out of Texas, $1 million man, and he's played exceptionally well his first year for the Rams, and now in his 2nd.
Yes, and he hasn't covered very well here this afternoon, though, Ben, has he?
No. In fact, one of the big surprises, the Rams came in here with such glistening credentials, pass defense, and it's not held up.
And that time Bartkowski tried to go up on top. They had bump and run, which means they had corners right on the line of scrimmage on the outside receivers, but he didn't have time. He looked outside, couldn't get it away, threw inside, and there's pass interference on the play.
So that makes it 1st and 10 on the Ram 26-yard line. Washington leading the Bears 17-0. Bartkowski to William Andrews, and he cuts back and moves it down to the 20-yard line. So Andrews started right, and boy, he pushed off with that right foot and just shot through for a couple.
Yeah, he did what you have to do. You have to push off the outside foot when you make a cut, and watch what he does here. Again, he's running away from the tendency that they've established. Look at that right foot get anchored. He points the left one in the direction he's going to run, goes through the cavity. Good leverage, shoulder pads, head down, and he goes through the pile and comes out the other end almost.
Just shy of the 21-yard line, 2nd and a long 5. Bartkowski a pitch back, and William Andrews trying to get outside George Andrews, who goes inside. And look at him fight his way to about the 1-yard line. Boy, you spell his name in capital letters, sir. William Andrews.
And Andrews, the other Andrews on the Rams that time, number 52, George Andrews, was skating to the outside, watching 52, trying to maintain outside leverage. And he cuts inside, and also Cody Jones overran the play. He does a great job of running and takes the ball right down to the 2-yard line. Boy, what a great effort on the part of William Andrews, number 31.
He rushed for 97 yards against Cleveland. He has now rushed for 99 yards. In fact, officially, they give him the extra yard for 100. So it's a 1st and goal, play action fake to Lynn Kane. The pass is over Junior Miller's head. Ivory Sully was in there, number 37.
He made up his mind. That was a delay to the tight end. He made up his mind he was going to throw the ball back to Junior Miller. And William Andrews, number 31, you talk about the lonesome guy in the end zone. He was out there all by himself, like he ran out of the bleachers, but he never even looked at it.
All right, it'll be 2nd and goal from the Ram 2. The score, the Falcons 28, the Rams 27. And we have 14 minutes left in the final quarter, so anything can happen because so much has happened already. It's been the pattern of the day. 2nd and goal from the 2. Bartkowski to William Andrews, going wide, cutting in, touchdown.
Did you see how well he waited? He didn't hurry. He was always under control, good balance, good lean. He saw the seam and took advantage of it and pumped the ball right into the end zone. Boy, what a beautiful runner this William Andrews is. Watch him again. He's under control all the time. He sees the running room, and he has good leverage, uses the shoulder pads, and pumps it right into the end zone for the touchdown.
You know, in 2 previous years, William Andrews had 9 100-yard games, and this is his first 100-yard game this year, although, as we said, he came close with 97 against Cleveland. So Mick Luckhurst with the spot and the kick, and it is good. And they are deliriously happy here. And what a difference compared to the first quarter when they were booing Bartkowski, and it was 13-0 Rams.
Yeah, it changes in a hurry, and the emotional tempo of the game changed completely. And I thought
the Atlanta Falcons leading the Los Angeles Rams 35-27. This place is a madhouse called Fulton County Stadium, but we have 13 minutes and 58 seconds left to go. Drew Hill is the deep back as Mick Luckhurst. Ready, and here we go. And Luckhurst sends Drew Hill again deep into the end zone, but he's going to run it out. Mike Gooman leading the way, and Drew Hill punched out of bounds by Blaine Geisen, and out he goes. Friends, we'd like to alert our viewers in Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Detroit that the National Football League requires us to switch you in the next few minutes to coverage of your hometown team. We'll continue to update the situation here in Atlanta as the game comes to a conclusion. That's for the folks in Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Detroit. Now let's see if the Rams can come back. Would you say Pat Hayden's presence on the sidelines and street loading is an inspiration?
no, I really think if I were coaching, I'd rather have him in the locker room and have the players concerned about him. They were very upset about what happened, and I think once they saw him come on the field,
banged up. Boy, there's a lot of feeling down there. Harrop was particularly incensed after Hayden's injury. But that's an interesting point, Hank, about you'd rather have your team worrying about Hayden than to see that he is okay.
well, they knew he was all right. I think they got the word, but they didn't know how well he recovered. And, of course, the important thing is that he wasn't seriously hurt.
Los Angeles, personal foul, hitting 37, personal foul between downs, second down.
So there were two personal fouls, one on each side between downs, and we just flipped the card. Here it is again. Bernard really trapped on that end around.
Yeah, he's really, talk about running for your life. That's exactly what he's doing there, and he got a shove there outside. Wasn't a bad shove by Clydemore, and that started all the trouble.
2nd and 15 on the 20-yard line, so they lose 5 on that end around. Rutledge, don't tell me, what kind of a play was that?
They blew the play. It looked like he was trying to give the ball to Cullen Bryant, and Bryant didn't know he was supposed to get the ball, and so for that reason he had to do the best he could and improvise, and didn't get anything on the play.
I'm surprised. Well, maybe it's instinct for him that he would run. I mean, you start to give it to Bryant, he's not there. Being a quarterback, you think he'd immediately start running, looking for people.
Well, what happened on the play, I think it was going to be a run to the right, and if you can't give the ball to the back who was supposed to run right, then you better just keep yourself and run where they're blocking for the guy who was supposed to run in that area.
Yeah, so they've lost 7 yards on the last 2 downs. It's 3rd and 17 on the Ram 18-yard line. Boy, they fired up here in Atlanta. Rutledge going deep down the left side. He's got Miller, juggled and couldn't hold on to it. Willie Miller had his fingertips on it, and he got a push from Kenny Johnson, So he pushes Johnson back. So Miller is scheming. Smith, I'm sorry, the 6-year man out of Colorado State.
You know, I haven't seen Rutledge play before, and he's done a good job here filling in for Pat Hayden. He gets the ball over the top. Willie Miller had the ball, and right about the time he was bringing it down, it was knocked loose by Clydemore, number 27.
So Willie Miller, a fingertip job, but that's all, and it's 4th and 17 on the 18-yard line. Carson is back as a fullback to block for Corral. The Falcons can't get at him, and Corral gets the punt away. Fielded by Scott Warner, and he has a fair catch at the 41-yard line, so the Falcons have the score in their favor with 12:49 left, and they're in good field position. That's Dr. Bob Curlin, orthopedic surgeon, sitting on a table along with Pat Hayden. And, of course, Hayden becomes the eye of the storm here in Atlanta. Injured, a contusion of the left leg, not a broken leg as originally reported, but he can't play anymore. And, of course, the Rams in the hands of a younger and more inexperienced quarterback, and they're trailing 35-27, and Atlanta has the ball. 1st and 10 on the Falcon 41, and it's Lynn Kane on a draw. The play never really got off the ground. Sanders, number 67 on the right side, trying to throw a block, and he couldn't really open it up.
Tampa Bay comes back and now is ahead of Green Bay, 14-7.
Yeah, Doug Williams from 1 yard out ran in. And next Sunday's doubleheader, Tampa Bay versus scoreless Oakland. I thought only the A's were not hitting.
I still can't believe they've gone so long, 3 games without scoring a touchdown. That's pretty incredible.
So it is 2nd and 9 on the Atlanta 42. 35-27 Falcons, but a lot of time left, over 12 minutes. And the Falcons being very conservative right now as they fight their way slowly. Play started at the Atlanta 41. Look at that one. The Jets 28 and New England 24. John Smith, a 22-yard field goal to pick up 3 for New England. Ray Malavasi came in here with apparently some of his troubles behind him, and the Rams have put it all together rather impressively against Cleveland and Chicago. They've won 3 straight, but they're down right now, and he's lost his number 1 quarterback. 3rd and 9 on the Atlanta 42. Well,
they're all up there on the line of scrimmage again. He might try to go on top.
Bartkowski, a lob job to Junior Miller. I'd like to see that again. I don't know whether Nolan Cromwell got a hand on it or Miller just dropped it.
No, and he didn't throw it out in front of far enough. Had he thrown it long enough, he'd have got. I think he had a better chance to make the play. There's a blitz, 51 coming.
Joe Harris
throws the ball up on top, one-on-one. Had the ball been thrown a little bit farther out in front, it'd have been a reception.
Yeah, he threw it a little behind him. So on a 4th and 9 from the 42, Leroy Irvin goes deep for the Rams, and John James, an excellent punter, is long 50. And there's Leroy Irvin, who ran a punt 75 yards for a touchdown earlier today. John James angling for the sidelines. Irvin coming over, will take it at the 14-yard line. No real room, and he takes a lick and goes out of bounds. Lyman White and James Mayberry were the 2 wideouts to come down and bump Irvin out of bounds. And let's see if there's a flag on the play. There is. So further interpretation by Fred Silva and company. Atlanta appears annoyed. And it's going to be against the Rams on the run back. I think a couple of the Falcons felt that there perhaps was another penalty called for that they didn't get. That's why 1 or 2 of the players seemed so ticked off. As it is, they'll go 5 yards for illegal use of hands. That was the preliminary signal. 35-27 Falcons, 11 minutes and 12 seconds left in the game. And we're getting the explanation. Ralph Moorcroft, the umpire, explaining to Fred Silva. And in a moment, hopefully, Fred will tell us all about it.
And with 11 minutes left in this game, there's going to be a lot more fireworks that we're going to see before it's all over with. I assure you that, Jim.
I would think so.
On the run back, number 37. Illegal use of hands, push in the back.
Well, that would be Ivory Sully, who is guilty of illegal use of the hand. So they spot the ball back on the Ram 8-yard line. And for young Jeff Rutledge, terrible field position with 11 minutes and 12 seconds left in the game.
This would be a good time to pump it up right here, Vince.
And they stay on the ground to Wendell Tyler, who's stacked up right at the line of scrimmage. So it's 1st and 10 on the 8. And Tyler barely got it back to the line of scrimmage. He might have fallen for a yard, but that's what they need. Tampa Bay leading Green Bay 21-7. James Wilder scoring for Tampa Bay. And Pittsburgh leading Cleveland 13-7. David Trout's field goal adding to Pittsburgh coffers. 2nd and 8 from the 10-yard line. Wendell Tyler has scored 7, but he's a long way from the promised land right now. Henry Childs in motion, and Rutledge setting up to go deep to Drew Hill, and he overshot him. And Hill was in a sandwich with Bobby Butler on one side and Tom Pridemore on the other.
That time they got Glazebrook out of there in good shape by sending Henry Childs in motion. And he tries to throw the ball right down the seam. Pridemore, 27, gets a good jump on the ball. The ball is thrown a little bit too far downfield and falls incomplete.
Do you second guess that at all, going deep on that play?
No, I thought it was a good call. That's why I mentioned it on 1st and 10. I would have done it on 1st and 10, but he came back and did it on 2nd and 8.
Now, of course, it's a 3rd down call for Rutledge. 3rd and 7 from the 10-yard line. Time left, 10 minutes and 26 seconds. Rutledge throwing from the 1-yard line to Willie Miller, and he can't make the play. Miller, a picture of frustration as he stands there. Looked like he was going to make that reception and really go a while.
Yeah, that's the second one he had a chance to make a catch on, and he didn't get it done. Rutledge stays in the pocket nicely and delivers the ball deep downfield on an outside move. Watch the ball come right over the top, and he looks like it went right through his elbows. He didn't catch it in his hands. He went right through and goes incomplete.
So Frank Corral will have to kick from his end zone. Scott Warner is standing on the Atlanta 45-yard line. And Warner had one flat trajectory kick, and he burned the Rams with it, and it led to an Atlanta touchdown. This time he has to back up to his own to the 35-yard line and ask for a fair catch. So it'll be 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 35. Atlanta leading 35-27. That's a big 8-point difference. Minutes and 10 seconds left in the game. Atlanta 35 and the Rams 27. We'd like to alert our viewers again in Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Detroit. The National Football League requires us to switch in the next few minutes in order to cover your hometown team. We'll continue to update the situation here in Atlanta as the game comes to conclusion. That's for the good folks in Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Detroit. Steve Bartkowski having a big day. Has it 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 35-yard line. Wallace Francis in motion to the left, picked up by Rod Perry. They go to William Andrews, and he slides off a block by Phil Murphy, and because of it, gets out to the 40-yard line. So if Murphy brings him down, it's at the line of scrimmage. Instead, he picks up 5.
Yes, and here again, interestingly enough, they're still running away from the key that they've established going into the game. They're running away from Kane without an elite blocker and giving the ball to Andrews away from the formation. In other words, Kane is to the right, usually runs toward Kane. Now he's running away from him, and they continue to do that and do a good job.
In other words, they plant the idea with the Rams that he's going to run towards the key, and they're doing just the opposite.
Yeah, they sprinkle a little bird seed on the right side and go the other way.
2nd and 6 on the 40-yard line. Bartkowski on a quick draw to William Andrews, and on his own, he gets it for about 2 more yards up to the 42. Hey, friends, tonight on CBS starts with 60 Minutes, followed by Archie Bunker's Place, and then the season premiere of One Day at a Time. Stay tuned also for Alice, followed by the Jeffersons, Tapper John M.D. That's all tonight on CBS, a great winning lineup.
One thing Atlanta can't do, they can't afford to be too cautious. They've got to stay on the attack and make something happen and try to get some more points.
3rd and 4 on the Atlanta 42-yard line. They go slot right, and Jackson is wide left.
They're all on a line of scrimmage again. He ought to try to go deep.
He's going deep to Junior Miller, and he overthrew him by 5 yards. Picking up was Harris and Perry, but the tight end just couldn't get out there. So, with 8 minutes and 44 seconds, Atlanta cannot hold on to the ball, and they'll have to give it up to the Rams, who trail by 8.
Bartkowski read that very well that time. They were all up in a line of scrimmage in a bump and run. It was man for man all across the board. He had to get rid of the ball before the blitz game, and he did, but he threw it a little bit too deep downfield and just missed Junior Miller.
So John James will be punting from the 30-yard line and gets it away. And I mean, he shoots this thing high. And there is Leroy Irvin standing at the 16-yard line. Gets through the red shirts, and he's still on his feet. And look at Leroy Irvin. He might bust another one.
He's going to...
Oh, Johnny James almost caught up to him while he was waving the ball to the crowd.
He almost going to... I thought he was going to take the ball out of his hand from the backside. Did you see that?
Leroy Irvin, who went 75 yards with a punt early in the first quarter, has just gone 84 yards with one for a touchdown. And are the Rams ever back in this game?
Yeah, he was walking the dog going in for the 5-yard line, though, and almost got that ball taken away.
I don't know how he got out in a few moments now. Watch all the red shirts.
Oh, the good block downfield. Look at that good block downfield by one of the linemen. It was 71 Doss. Reggie Doss makes the tackle. A poor attempt, missed tackle there.
Can't catch him. Ray Strong never catch him.
Look at that. Look at that. He's walking it to see, and James almost came in and took it away.
Almost. The hold by Cromwell, the kick by Corral. Would you believe this ballgame? The Atlanta Falcons 35, the Los Angeles Rams 34, and we still have 8 minutes and 23 seconds left to go. 35-34 Falcons, and you folks in Dallas, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Detroit, the NFL rule requires us to switch you to your hometown teams. We will keep you up to date on what's happening. All right, Frank Corral ready to kick off for the now inspired Los Angeles Rams, as Leroy Irvin just went 84. Reggie Smith in the end zone, and the Falcons holding on by 1. A short kick that is going to go out of bounds, and so it'll be kicked over from the 30-yard line. Hank, this might be one of the wackiest football games we've seen in a long time.
It's by far, I don't know about wacky, but it's one of the best games we've seen so
now
far.
It is,
yeah, that's right.
35-34 Falcons.
You know, the funny thing about, you hear people say, well, they lost the game. They were not ready to play. You hear that expression so much of the time. But really, being ready to play is important. But the most important thing is that you play consistently for 60 minutes. And so, if you have a peaks and valley, a roller coaster kind of a game, a stock market game where you're going up and down, you could be in trouble. But this is the way this game has been. It's really been a stock market game.
And the stock market's been wacky.
Yes, it has.
All right, they spot the ball on the 30-yard line. Kansas City, this has got to be a shocker. Oakland is shut out again. Kansas City blanks them 27-0. That means 12 consecutive quarters. Oakland has failed to score, and they'll play Tampa Bay next Sunday.
I would not like to be around Al Davis on the airplane coming back.
I hear you. All right, from the 30, Corral kicks. This one will be fielded by Reggie Smith at the 10. The little guy is to the 25, and he was tripped up and knocked down by Ivory Sully, number 37. And, of course, when you're 5'4", you just clip him at the ankle, where Reggie had to go down. So Atlanta leading by 1 precious point. And remember, both of these teams with the identical record of 3-2. Meanwhile, San Francisco in a 3-way tie, playing Dallas later today. And San Francisco is 3-2.
And talking about Oakland and Al Davis being disgruntled on the airplane, they might not take the airplane. They might have to take a bus back.
Or walk. 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 27. In motion is Wallace Francis to the right. Jenkins is wide left. Bartkowski hesitates and throws in a crowd to Junior Miller. No good. Nolan Cromwell and Johnny Johnson were there. The one man, had he faked over the middle and released to William Andrews that whole wide open area on the right side.
Yeah, you saw that. That was good. That was a good observation, Ben. That's exactly what could have happened that time. Did you watch Bartkowski feet that time? He was a little nervous back there. He was shuffling around. Anytime that happens, he's not quite sure where he's going to throw the ball, and he threw it right into a lot of folks on that last play.
So it is 2nd and 10 on the Atlanta 27. That was a final, by the way, now. Philadelphia 31 and New Orleans 14. The backs stay in to block, and Bartkowski throws too high. He should have had a reception. It was for Alfred Jackson, and he gets angry, and Pat Thomas is now in the game. Thomas, who did not figure to play, has now made his presence known, number 27. Remember, Leroy Irvin was playing for Thomas, and Irvin has run one punt for 75 and another 84, so he's got to be huffing and puffing a little. And Lehman Bennett's not too happy either.
And interestingly enough, on the last possession, Atlanta was very, very cautious. Now they're being more aggressive.
Big play.
And this is a big play coming up on 3rd and 10.
From the 27-yard line. And the Falcons slot right with Jenkins wide left. The backs release now, and the pass down the left side, 3 Rams. And let's see, Alfred Jackson claims that there was some bumping going on, and the officials say no. And now look at Jackson and Johnny Johnson. They're hot. And now others come in to get involved. Pat Thomas again.
You don't get the feeling that there's bad blood between these two things, do you?
It has really boiled over now. And of course, really what precipitated it, I'm sure, was the injury to Pat Hayden. That really set things in motion. All right, John James, who has punted very well. A low snap. And hangs it high. And here's Leroy Irvin again from the 22. And there goes Leroy Irvin again. And he is tripped up at the last minute by Neil Musser at the 45-yard line, or he might have busted another. And you know, James is hanging the ball pretty well. He's not kicking line drive.
No, he's kicking it up there high, but he's kicking it so far that he's out kicking the coverage, it looks like. But Irvin is really getting a good jump on the ball and is very decisive, and that's so important when you bring back kicks.
So Leroy Irvin ran 75 for a touchdown, 84 for a touchdown to breathe new life in the Rams, and he makes another big return to the Atlanta 41, where it is 1st and 10 for the Rams. This crowd is still angry as Rutledge brings the Rams up to the line of scrimmage. Second man, Wendell Tyler, fumble, recovered by Tom Clydemore. And Clydemore is down at the 30-yard line, but he made the recovery. The West Virginia house is being well represented in Atlanta.
Boy, that was a tough play. He had a good hole. It got stick, but we talked about that earlier. Against this team, they go after the ball so well and so much that you really got to secure it. You got to wrap it up, and they scraped it. You see how they scraped the ball loose. And there you see Clydemore with the recovery of the fumble.
So it is 1st and 10 on the Atlanta 30-yard line. Remember, they had it 4th and 10 on the 27, and despite the great return, they've actually picked up 3 yards in the last time they had the ball. So 1st and 10 on the Falcon 31. Time left 7:28. Plenty of time, and Francis in motion. Bartkowski on a quick hit by William Andrews. Johnny Johnson hits him high and stops him at about the 32 to 33-yard line.
The Rams are really doing a much better job up front. They're controlling the line of scrimmage a little bit better, coming off the ball better, much better than they were in the middle of the 3rd quarter.
So a 2nd and 7 on the Atlanta 33. The Falcons 35, the Rams 34. 6 minutes and 55 seconds left in the game. You can see Bartkowski's numbers. Each side has had 2 sacks. Bartkowski staying on the ground with Andrews, and of course, that's a pretty good money bet to stay with that back.
Yes, and you know what happened on the play? They went on the quick count, and they almost caught the Rams moving and not covering their people because it was the first time in a long time they've really changed the rhythm of the count and went on a quick count.
Kenny Anderson has just tossed his 3rd touchdown pass, this one to Dan Ross from 2 yards out, 24-5 Cincinnati. 3rd and a long 4 on the 36-yard line. Slot left this time. Bartkowski Over the middle to Junior Miller, and the big tight end is to the Ram 45, stumbles, and they will mark it right shy of the 45-yard line.
The Rams had a blitz on that time. Look at Joe Harris, and about the time he was making contact with Andrews, he stopped. Instead of keeping on his course, he gets the ball to the tight end, Junior Miller, in great shape, and he makes the catch and a big first down.
Big first down and dead because the pass came from the 36-yard line. So they picked up 20 yards on the play. 1st and 10 on the Ram 45. Jenkins wide left. Bartkowski staying with William Andrews, and George Andrews strings it out and then takes William out of bounds.
They've run that play about 3 times, and that's the first time really that they've played it well. On the other occasions, while Andrews was able to cut inside of the linebacker, George Andrews, and make big plays on the big gains, I should say, on the play.
So Steve Bartkowski, who did not have a touchdown pass after 14 straight, he was shut out by the Eagles, but he's having a big day today. 3 touchdowns. He's completed 17 out of 36 against a team that prides itself on its pass defense. 2nd and 4 on the 39-yard line of Los Angeles. Straight ahead to William Andrews, and he's butted and dropped. Joe Harris hit him on one side. Nolan Cromwell also got a lick in there to bring him down.
That time they ran to the tendency. That time they ran to the remaining back, Lynn Kane, and they didn't succeed in making nearly as much yardage as they have been doing, running away from Kane, I should say, and breaking that tendency.
Well, you saw the clock winding down. 4:52 left in the game. 35-34 Falcons. A big 3rd down play now from the 38-yard line. About 3rd and a long 3. Bartkowski looking left and getting it out to Jackson. No catch. He was out of bounds. So Jackson catching it, but he was OB.
I'll say one thing about Bartkowski. He sees that one-on-one coverage, the bump and run, and he takes advantage of it. He doesn't wait for the next time he sees it. Johnson is blitzing on the play, number 22, the strong safety, but he throws the ball on top. That's the kind of thing you have to do as a quarterback, and he's doing it very well.
So on a 4th and 3, Atlanta will have to give up the ball. Now, this will be the artistry of John James. We told you he's had only 1 touchback all year, and he's had about 29 punts. So we'll see now if he can angle one out. And you know that's what he's going to try and do. He's going for the right corner. And now watch it. No, it's on. So he kicks it into the end zone. And a very disgusted James comes off the field because he prides himself on the artistry of not having any touchbacks. But he kicked that one in there. So the Rams have it 1st and 10 on the Ram 20-yard line. Well, don't forget, next weekend, another exciting NFL doubleheader on CBS. Check your local listings for the game in your area. The early games, New Orleans, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Minnesota, St. Louis, Atlanta, San Francisco, Green Bay. And the late games, Washington, Miami, Giants, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Oakland. And the chance begins now. Defense, defense. The Falcons leading by 1, trying to hold on. And Jeff Rutledge trying to get the Rams out in front. Tyler and Bryant. Play action fake to Tyler, and Rutledge going for a bunch in a hurry, and Drew Hill fell down. Drew Hill thinks he was interfered with, but there's no flag. He and Bobby Butler got their legs tangled, and Hill is angry, and Butler was shaken up. Butler hurt himself, so we'll take another look.
Yes, they just were both making an honest attempt to get the ball, and they tripped over each other's feet. And Bobby Butler falls to the turf, and so does Drew Hill.
Butler limping off the field. He'll have to come out, at least for the moment, and Earl Jones, number 20, will take over for him at a critical moment in the game. Jones is out of Norfolk State, and like Butler, he was a relay man. So it is 2nd and 10 for the Rams on the Rams 20-yard line.
The tight end, the way the coverage is, should be open if they throw the ball here, the way the coverage is on the defense.
Rutledge looking, can't find anybody, finally throws desperately to Henry Childs, the tight end. He is brought down by Buddy Curry, And I think he picked up the first down. So as you said, it was a scramble, but sooner or later the tight end was open.
Yeah, so the way that coverage was, that he had to try to get the ball to the tight end. In this case, he had enough time. He jumps out of the pocket, shows a lot of poise, and throws the ball to Henry on the outside, and he's a great receiver. And a big play for the Rams. Here you see Rutledge faking outside, moves to the right, then moves to the left, escapes the pressure of number 65, Don Smith.
1st and 10 on the Ram 32-yard line. So they've moved the ball 12 yards so far. Rutledge down the left sideline. No good. The intended receiver over there was Preston Denard, but Kenny Johnson was right there with him. 3 minutes and 37 seconds left in the game. 35-34 Falcons. And you can see Cincinnati leading Baltimore 24-12 in the 4th quarter. So we finally got that odd-looking 5 off the screen that Baltimore had.
What's the holding, 15?
And this young quarterback has to be careful that he doesn't try to get too much too soon. He's got to be patient and just move the ball down the field. All he needs is 3 points to win this football game.
2nd and 10 on the Ram 32 with 3:37 left in the game. The Rams trail by 1. In motion is Preston Denard. Rutledge takes a deep drop, looks left, then down the middle, now releases to Henry Childs, and the tight end butts heads and goes down at about the 38-yard line. Al Richardson, Bob Glazebrook, and Fulton Kuykendall were all there.
Yeah, he's just got to be concerned about moving the football, moving the chains, and to be very, very patient at this stage of the contest.
3 minutes and 10 seconds and counting. 35-34 Atlanta. At one time in the game, the Rams led 13-0. So it is a 3rd and 3. The ball is on the Ram 39, and Rutledge needs a big play now. Looking left, setting up, and a great catch by Henry Childs. He beat Fulton Kuykendall at the 45-yard line, and the Rams pick up the first down.
Boy, he's doing a good job of recognizing what they're getting and getting the ball to the tight end. That's what he has to do. And here he does. Jumps out of the pocket a little bit to the right, sees Henry over here, makes a leaping catch, and another big first down for the Los Angeles Rams. That's the way he has to do it.
What is it you like the most about Henry Childs? His hands, his blocking ability, or just overall?
I tell you, he's a totally complete at the tight end. He catches the ball well, blocks well, and he has the speed to get deep.
1st and 10 on the Ram 45. Rutledge looking down the left side to Preston Denard. And it is picked off, dropped, and let's see how they rule it. Kenny Johnson took it away. Wendell Tyler going down the field, but Kenny couldn't hold on to it.
There's a flag down on the play, too, I think.
Tyler sitting down on the 30-yard line. And there is a flag back on the 45-yard line where Preston Denard was. And it looks like illegal use of hands is the preliminary signal. And it will be against Atlanta, bringing the ball to midfield.
Defense, number 37. Illegal contact. First down.
So Kenny Johnson, whom we thought picked off the pass, guilty of illegal contact. Take another look.
There he goes, throw the ball. He was lucky, very, very lucky that he didn't come up with the interception on that play.
1st and 10 at midfield for the Rams. They started on their own 20-yard line, so they've eaten up 30 yards, but they only have 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the game. A blitz is on. Rutledge unloads to Denard, who can't come back and get it. Oh, was that blitz coming?
Normally, the outside receiver has to be always looking for the free safety, looking inside, because in case of a blitz, he has to cut off his pattern and look to the inside. It didn't look like he recognized what they got defensively, and for that reason, wasn't able to make the play.
So we have 2 minutes left in the game at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, and what a game. The Falcons 35, the Rams 34 and driving. A final score, Pittsburgh has defeated Cleveland 13-7. This has been Scully along with Hank Stram. We have 1:59 on the clock left here in Georgia, and the Falcons leading the Rams 35-34. But the Rams have the ball at midfield, and they have Frank Corral, who can get him 3 in a hurry if they get close enough. Drew Hill goes wide right. Preston Denard and Wendell Tyler go in a slot left. So Cullen Bryant is the sole setback. Earl Jones finally picks up his man, and that's Wendell Tyler. Rutledge looking under pressure, and Formina can't get him, and the pass is broken up, intended for Drew Hill. Tom Pridemore all over him, and Wilson Formina got Rutledge down.
Boy, Pridemore is something. He doesn't have great speed, but you know what he's got? He's got great anticipation. He's like a center fielder, gets a good jump on the ball. Rutledge does a good job of escaping from all the trouble inside, but watch Pridemore come back over the top, right on top of Drew Hill that time, and knocks the ball loose.
Drew Hill, by the way, stands 5'9". Ray Malavasi sweating this one out, and so is Lehman Bennett. With 1 minute and 50 seconds left, the Rams have a 3rd and 10, trying to keep the drive alive. Denard, wide right. Miller, wide left, picked up by Kenny Johnson. Yates trying to get in. Oh, what a hit in the backfield, but Denard makes the reception. And if Rutledge is okay on that hit, and he is, he's something. Yates came in and almost knocked him out of his shoulder pads.
I'm going to tell you something. That Rutledge has really done a super job here of filling in for Pat Hayden. I had never seen him before. Here's a linebacker blitzing on the play, Buddy Curry, but he releases the ball in good shape and right on the money to Denard, who makes the catch. Boy, what a big play that was on 3rd and 10.
3rd and 10, they pick up a first down on the Atlanta 30-yard line. Great play by Jeff Rutledge, getting hit by Yates and Buddy Curry, and still able to get right back up on his feet. We have 1:44 left in the game. Drew Hill right, Denard left. Mike Gooman is in there to block now, and Rutledge has some time, so he picks off Denard, who goes out of bounds at the 21-yard line, and he has to get to the 20 for a first down. So he almost picked it all up on another bite.
Play action pass that time, and again, Rutledge demonstrates a lot of poise and good vision. He looks to the right like he was going to throw the ball there, and then threw the ball over on the left side of the field to Preston Denard, right on the money, and there he runs the ball out of bounds at about the 21-yard line. Boy, great looking play.
I was here when the Atlanta-Dallas game was played last year, and all of a sudden I can almost taste the same atmosphere. This crowd starting to think that somebody else is going to pull it out again. They'll stay to Cullen Bryant, and he bursts through down to the 15-yard line, and he picks up the first down. And the Falcons now are desperate with 1:25, even though they're leading. They're in that position. It's like water seeping into your shoes, Hank. You're trying to fight the thought of not thinking about it, but it's there.
And if your shoe has a hole in the bottom, it's all right for that water to seep through. If it doesn't, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they're well aware of what's going on. 1:07 and counting on the 15-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Rams. They started on their own 20, so it's been a lengthy drive. Cullen Bryant in a crowd. Maybe to the 14 or the 13-yard line. The clock shows 48 seconds, 47 seconds. Of course, the Rams will be relying on Frank Corral unless they go for broke and hit the jackpot here.
They got 2 timeouts left. Now they finally call one. Now they have 1 left with 39 seconds left in this game.
Remember, Corral 2 for 2 in field goals in the first half. So Corral in field goals has kicked 8 out of 9. His longest field goal, 41 yards. And, of course, the ball right now is down on the 13-yard line. In fact, looking at the balls that Corral has kicked, 35 and 36, 40 and 24, 38, and then the longest one, 41. And you can see Atlanta with 3 timeouts and Frank Corral getting that kicking shoe on.
And he'll probably soak it in Gatorade before he goes out in the field to make sure he gets that good power.
Frank Corral, that must be you talk about the loneliness of the long-distance runner. How about the loneliness of the long-distance kicker?
Yeah, that really is. You talk about the Lone Ranger and you're talking about the lonely kicker is right. Boy, that's a heck of a responsibility.
Yeah, it all comes down after all the slugfest and the fighting and the bad blood and the arguing. You have 39 seconds left, and then suddenly they turn around and say, okay, kick it.
Well, he'd be in a great position. You know, he made a bad play on that punt that gave Atlanta an easy 7 points. Now he's got a chance, looks like, to win this football game for the Los Angeles Rams.
And, of course, the Rams are also in the ideal spot right now of consuming so much time that the Atlanta team cannot bounce back. They won't have a chance. And so it is a very frustrating moment for the Atlanta Falcons and their fans, even though they're leading by a point. 39 seconds left, 2nd and 8 on the 13-yard line.
Gooman is a left halfback.
And Gooman is going to follow Bryant. And he got short of the 10-yard line, did Mike Gooman. Gooman is 2 years out of Penn State, and he's quite an athlete. At Penn State, he was a defensive back, a wide receiver, and a tailback. And he's big, 6'2", 210, although that's not particularly big down in a professional field.
But he's a good, steady performer and does everything very well.
3rd and 5 on the 10-yard line. And again, Frank Corral alone with his thoughts. There's not really anything anybody can say to him, so they just leave him alone.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Just leave him alone. And he's enough of a pro where he knows what he has to do without being reminded.
And number 21 in the corner of the screen there is Nolan Cromwell. And, of course, he has a big role. Nolan Cromwell is the holder. The snapper for the Rams will be number 56, Doug Smith. And all those things are so important, aren't they, Hank, in order to get a successful field goal?
Yes, people have the mistaken impression that the kicker is the only one that really is important, but the snap has to be perfect, the holder has to put it down perfectly, and the kicker, of course, has to do the third part.
If I played word association with you in your long career in professional football, besides college football, and I said to you field goal or dramatic field goal, what's the one that comes to your mind? Anything particular?
Yeah, there are probably the one in Kansas City, Christmas Day, where we had a chance to go ahead. We were ahead 10-0, and we had a chance to go ahead 17-0 with a fake field goal attempt, and we snapped the ball to the wrong guy and blew the opportunity.
Well, we'll see now about the opportunity. 3rd and 5 on the Atlanta 10, and Rutledge will give to Cullen Bryant, and Bryant falls to about the 7-yard line. And, of course, the good reason to give the ball to Bryant, he is so reliable. He is just not a fumbler. In fact, prior to this year, in almost, 949 carries, Bryant had fumbled only 9 times. So they hand it to him, and now they also hand the ball game to Frank Corral, to the holder, and to the snapper.
And Atlanta does a good job of calling timeouts. A good reason to call timeout here, to give the kicker added time and responsibility to think about his kick. And sometimes it has an effect. I'm talking about a negative effect. Other times it doesn't make any difference, but it's the thing to do. Atlanta did a smart thing by calling timeout with 28 seconds left in this game.
All right, here are the 3 men. Naturally, everybody thinks of Frank Corral, but Corral is the kicker. The holder is Nolan Cromwell. The center, and he has a big job, is Doug Smith, 4 years out of Bowling Green. So it'll start with Smith, then to Cromwell, and then to Corral. And if you're defensive coach for Atlanta, what is your particular instruction? What would you try to do in this spot?
Well, you have to get somebody in the gap. You have to outman them, have everybody on the line of scrimmage. You've got 11 people coming in this particular case, and you have to try to get good pressure in the middle area to block the kick. That's what you tell them. You have to get good penetration into the seam to block that kick.
We mentioned it earlier. We mention it again. Bobby Butler, the rookie cornerback, number 23 for Atlanta, blocked 7 when he was in college. So you know he's quick coming off the line. And among others, we'll be keeping an eye on Butler.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's where the pressure is going to come from, because Corral really gets the ball up quickly, and it's going to be hard to block up the middle. You got to must have good pressure in the middle, but I think the real pressure has got to come from the outside.
All right, Nolan Cromwell will hold at the 15-yard line. It is a 25-yard field goal attempt. Doug Smith is the snapper. The hold, the kick, it is good, and it has happened again. You could feel it coming, just as sure as shooting. And with 24 seconds left, the Rams have taken a lead, 37-35.
You know, an unusual thing, the Atlanta team did not get any penetration, did not provide a good rush at all. They looked like they were more concerned about the fake instead of the kick.
So 37-35 in favor of Los Angeles. What a seesaw ball game that saw the Rams get out in front 13-0. Then saw the breaks go Atlanta's way. At halftime, the Falcons led 21-20. And now, with 24 seconds left in the game, the Rams 37 and the Falcons 35. That is the 13th scoring play in this game.
Now the thing that Atlanta, they're very excited about what they, the Rams are very excited and very pleased about what they just did, but there's still 24 seconds left on the clock. They must do a good job of covering on this kick. They cannot take a chance of being lazy and not doing a good job on this thing, because they could run it back and get right back into this game.
Geisen and Strong are up in front of little Reggie Smith, and Reggie Smith is waving to Mayberry and to Dakin and to John Scully to fan out, and then they pass the message to the boys up front to fan out.
Yes, and if I were kicking the ball, I would make sure I'd kick a knuckleball, making it hit on the ground and make them feel the ball rather than trying to catch it in the air, and give them an opportunity to get a good return back.
All right, Corral, who has just put the Rams in front. He kicks it high and deep, and Reggie Smith, the 5'4" wonder, sets out to the 15, to the 20, and he goes out. No, he didn't get out of bounds, I don't believe, at about the 23-yard line. And we'll see where they put it in play. With 18 seconds left, Reggie Smith has brought it back, and they're going to spot it at about the 23-yard line where they finally put it down. Time is running out on the Falcons. They would be 3-3. The Rams would be 4-2. And, of course, San Francisco, if they could upset Dallas, San Francisco would be 4-2. 18 seconds left for Steve Bartkowski.
And they have one timeout left.
Andrews staying in to block. Bartkowski passing to Francis, and Nolan Cromwell picked it up, I believe. Are they going to whistle it dead and call him back? Nolan Cromwell went high in the air to steal the pass away from Wallace Francis, and the Rams coming up with a clutch field goal to have now slammed the lid on the ball game.
It was a kind of a play they had to try. They had to try to get the ball upfield, hope for pass interference, hope for a tip ball, hope for some kind of a big play. They didn't get it, but they had to try it, and they didn't succeed.
So Nolan Cromwell ices the cake. By the way, in the first quarter, we understand San Francisco is leading Dallas 14-0. The executive producer of NFL football, Terry O'Neill. The senior producer, Charles H. Milton III. Today's game produced by Robert Stenner, directed by Robert Fishman. Our thanks to Dr. Bob Woods, who gave us all the statistical help. Our associate director, Ernie Bauer, and the rest of the crew that did a great job in bringing you a wonderful ball game. Wonderful, that is, if you were totally impartial. If you are a Ram fan, ecstatic. And, of course, if you are an Atlanta fan,
sadness.
5 seconds left. But the game, for all intents and purposes, has been locked up on the field goal by Frank Corral. 25-yard field goal. And, of course, it was a 25-yard field goal, but the Atlanta defense slackened because the Rams started on their own 20 and just drove the ball downfield to get to the 25-yard field goal.
Yes, they did, and I just can't say enough nice things about Rutledge. He did a super job of coming in here. I have never seen him play, like I mentioned earlier, but he really did a magnificent job in a clutch situation.
And Rutledge just holding up on the ball, which belongs to the Rams, and as the clock goes out, so does the game. The final score, the Rams 37 and the Falcons 35. Now for Hank Stram, this is Vin Scully saying so long from Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Once again the score, Rams 37, Atlanta 35. Stay tuned for the second half of today's doubleheader, where most of you will see the Dallas Cowboys against the San Francisco 49ers. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League will continue after this word from your local station.